Fight, 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 fight.
Hypocrisy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Lawsplaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. And today, I have a very special guest, Mr. Joshua Moon. How's it going, buddy?
Pretty good. Just a little bit busy, though.
What are you busy? What are you talking about?
Oh my god, I've had to send so many emails in the last month. I have like a Hillary Clinton sized email server where they just have to constantly email people like, hey, what's the progress on this? What's the status on this? Any news on this front? And it's driving me a little bit crazy. I don't like talking to people.
Yeah, you're not well, I mean, you enjoy talking to some people, like in some particular ways, but not like that.
I mean, I'm not cut out to be like, like a professional businessman. Like, what's the action item status agenda for today?
Oh,
I don't want to. I don't want to crack the whip and have to like deal with all this shit. It's so annoying. But I mean, somebody's got to do it, and from looks of things, it's got to be me because I don't know anybody else.
Yes, we're gonna get into this subject for sure, because you are single-handedly forced to bear the weight of internet censorship at its zenith or whatever. Is that the right word? I think so.
Zenith.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess should I just lay out what has happened?
Well, let's start with this. Who are you? What do you do? I guess. Okay. I don't know. Here, I'll do it. This is Josh. This is Null. This is the owner, well, the alleged purported owner of Kiwi Farms, co-owner with Matt Jarbo. The Kiwi Farms is this website, this much maligned website where people get together, like gossipy women, and they gossip about anything really. But the forum typically steers towards gossiping about people, and the types of people who get gossiped about are barely people. They're e-celebs or celebs themselves who happen to do something interesting. Either people like them or people don't like them, or they do something like fly to another country and get beat up upon landing.
And then no. All
Wait,
right,
what?
what is it? It's a third. Don't know. You don't know this? You don't know the rule?
What?
You don't know the rule for
Oh,
November?
shit, you're right. Okay. Maybe they have let me save this. Maybe they fly to another country or not and do a bunch of cocaine on a live stream, for example.
Chantal?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. No, any sort of thing that someone does that draws any sort of attention and people want to talk about, that aggregates in this place called Kiwi Farms. And the other aspect of it is people collect a lot of publicly available data about people related to these topics. So, for example, there's a bunch of information about me, live streams I've done, topics I've covered, big things I've been involved in, and then a bunch of stuff about how I'm gay. So, like that exists. But yeah, that's what Kiwi Farms
think
is.
Vic Mignogno's gay, not you.
We're aiming to change that.
Oh no.
But no, the whole idea is you go to this website and you gossip, right? Like that's the purpose. Am I getting anything wrong or missing anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, a gossip site's probably the most accessible way to describe it. It's a place to go to talk shit about pretty much anything. If it's a person or a community or, politics, unfortunately, it has drifted into the political sphere as...
Can't keep it out. No matter what you do, you cannot fucking keep it out.
After 2016, you don't have a choice. It's either going to be everywhere, or it's going to be in like the shithole area of the site. So I've propped it up and I keep it tamed as best I can, but Yeah, it's unavoidable. So it's a little, it's like a forum. It's just a forum. If you've ever been around on the internet, you've probably seen a forum. Usually has an on-topic area and an off-topic area. Has a big off-topic area, but the on-topic area is specifically people and what they do. So big long threads about tons and tons of people, thousands of people. Usually right now it's usually like e-celebs, people who do streams and stuff. That's the popular demographic. But when the forum first started, it was mostly about weirdos who had like DeviantArt profiles or Tumblr profiles where they posted weird porn and stuff like that. Stuff that was mostly lighthearted and silly. But in the nightmare era that we live in now, 2022, it's a lot of threads about people on the internet who are sexually deviant and who align with a certain type of identity, some kind of gender identity. A lot of threads have become about, unfortunately, but that's also the main source of our problems right now is the people of gender and their complaints about being discussed. Because what I mean, like it's like almost passe to call them groomers and sex pests now, but
Right.
when you when you have this loudmouth weirdo on Twitter and you look them up, it's like, oh, they were accused of rape. They have been convicted for sexual assault. They do have a history of tweeting really creepy shit about people's moms. That's just the reality. It's not like fabricated.
Yeah, that's the hardest part of the whole grooming thing is how often it's true.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying.
Because I know there's some people out there, even acquaintances of ours, right, who suggest that the groomer insult or whatever is thrown around too much, or the pedo insult, and it's like, I mean, so on one extent, kind of, but on the other hand, I mean, there's a bunch of people who are way too fucking into kids, and it's weird how they keep showing up in public, like how this is a repeated problem in society,
Well,
especially with the internet.
You have so the site had issues with hosting for years now, but it had serious issues and high profile media attention starting in late August, thanks to a particular trans streamer named Keffels, who happened to sponsor a directory for hormone replacement therapy, specifically designed to aid and embed children to acquire hormone replacement therapy from places like Brazil and Ukraine without parental consent or knowledge using cryptocurrency. It was basically a how-to guide if you were like a loner teenager on Discord surrounded by trans people who are like, no, you totally need to tune out. It's like you're like such a girl. I can just tell by talking to you. Haha. They're like, here, use this DIY HRT directory and figure out how to import this stuff, and then just literally shoot it into your carotid artery, and you'll be a woman. So Keffel sponsored that, and people called them a groomer because they are a groomer. And
I've never heard of Keffels.
You never heard of Keffels before this, or
nope,
after?
Never. I still haven't.
Yeah. Well, you asked me to explain my site,
no,
so I'm giving.
I'm joking. I'm just joking.
Okay.
To the chat real quick. Keffels, of course, is the weird, gross trans activist who decided to come after me for pointing out what was on the forum. And the problem with what's on the forum is it's all actually just the words of Keffels. Like these are actual tweets that they made. And other stuff. But when you point that stuff out, because it's very, very inconvenient to have that history out there, because even trans activists aren't always in favor of the whole, like, let's get kids involved with no doctors thing. Like some of them still have problems with that. So trying to not have that be the top of the SEO results is a big issue. So, that's why they got mad at me and canceled my YouTube channel, and all that stuff. That's the ultimate reason. All of the other reasons are just pretext, frankly. But yeah, so that's Keffels that you're talking about. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go on.
But like trying to push back against them and what they're saying about the site, it's like, it's because they say it's like, oh, the site's trying to drive me to suicide. It's like, no, not really. We're just trying to point out that you're facilitating the acquisition of drugs to children, literally. And then a groomer gets thrown around a lot, and then now it's shifted. I don't know what happened, but Keffels, the DIY HRT directory, removed all the stuff about how to acquire it without parental consent, and then it supposedly changed hands from Chloe Bob posting, who is even like completely mask off, just like, yeah, I'm doing this. I have 1,000 boys on HRT right now, and I enjoy it, and you can't do anything about it. And it's really awesome that I've done this. Bob posting left the DIY HRT directory, and then since then, Cloudflow's basically Cloudflare dropped us. Cloudflow's basically declared victory and has avoided talking about the Kiwi farms at all, and seems wants to move past it as quickly as possible. So since then, the torch has kind of been passed to at least publicly, to Liz Fong Jones. Liz Fong Jones has a 6-year history of trying to deplatform the site. Their first attempt was to send a email from their lizf@google.com email address, because they were a Google employee, to my email service, asking them to deplatform me because we had a thread on Trans Lifeline, which, by the way, Trans Lifeline, we did not like some undercover journalists. We discovered that their directors were inuring money, and this was completely unaddressed for over a year. That they were basically stealing money from the charity. These people showed up at my house to try to intimidate me to take down the site because we were talking about how they were inuring money, and nobody gave a fuck.
They showed up at your house?
Yeah,
this
Greta
thing
Sava,
did, or someone else?
No, not Liz Fong Jones. Greta Sava and Nina Chabot. They showed up at my house, and then they went to the gun range in the town, and they posted that on Facebook after they showed up.
Oh, that's fun.
So
that's
yeah.
So this to the chat. This is Liz Fong Jones. This is a dude, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Her name's Elliot. We call him Dong Gong. That's our fun nickname for him. But yeah, Greta and Nina were part of Trans Lifeline. Liz was a friend of Trans Lifeline. They sent emails from their authoritative, very scary when you're like a hosting provider, to get a google.com email address saying that you're fucking up by hosting this. And surprisingly, the Dutch people who hosted my email server shrugged it off. So I don't know Dutch people are crazy. I don't know what's wrong with them. They're the only people who are trying to help us right now, as far as the internet goes. But as it turns out, years later, the rumblings of the inurement, the charity fraud, goes to Buck Angel, who is a female to male porn star. Very shocking. They do nude modeling. Very shocking to see what is a buff dude with a vagina. I'm just saying, you can find this easily yourself if you're curious. But Buck Angel, hilariously, trans people usually don't like the female to males because they hate women in general. So they hate the female to males, especially because the female to males usually pass better than the male to females. So many different reasons they hate the female to males, which makes it funny when Buck Angel comes out and says, we need some accountability for this shit that I'm reading about this charity. And sure enough, the other directors come in. They find out that, yes, I think it was $324,000 of charity money had been embezzled from the company to the directors. They filed this under penalty of perjury to the IRS, saying that these people stole from the charity. Nothing came about it, but they were removed from the board of directors. So we were completely right, just unambiguously. In the letter of the law, under penalty of perjury, I am fucking right when I say that Nina Chabot and Greta Gustava stole money from a 301 or a 501c3 charity.
Here's Buck Angel to the chat.
The hero of trans people. Ironically did more than any of those other fucking people. I
got a chance to talk to Buck on a panel discussion, and very interesting.
Really?
Yeah. It was an interesting. That was the one where Brianna Wu was supposed to show up, but then didn't.
Oh, what a coward. That would have been fun.
Cowarded out at the last second. I was like, oh, this is going to be great.
Brianna Wu is great because they align themselves publicly with the LGBT, but they're not out as trans. They still hide that. So they just identify as bisexual. They're supposed to be a bisexual woman, so they speak on behalf of bi people, the LGBT. It's great.
Yeah.
Anyways,
well, the Adam's apple and the giant penis give it away. Actually,
that got blocked off all the time. There's pictures of Wu and Leotard if you want to see that.
Oh God, no! Literally never.
I remember Gamergate when all this came out.
Oh Jesus.
Okay, so Liz Fong Jones stands by a fraud charity and then tries to drop the site. Doesn't happen. Years later, they try to support whatever movement comes up to drop the site. The abuse stuff happens. Liz Fong Jones gets involved. No traction whatsoever. But now I don't know what the fuck has happened. I don't know what's changed, what's clicked, what they got access to. But since the Keffel stuff, Liz Fong Jones will write emails to major internet service providers and say you need to drop this site, and they are. I spent.
Right.
I kind of knew that this was happening, that I might have issues with my hosting setup, so I thought I'm going to get a direct cross connect with a major ISP, Zayo, and this is an ISP that offers DDoS protection, which I
Nice.
need because I'm also subject to many different forms of criminal, felonious cyber attack all the time.
Well, it's not a
Facilitated in-
cyber attack. It's not a criminal cyber attack if it's justified by being on the right side of history, Josh. You got to know that.
Of course, I'm sure that all this attention to getting me removed from DDoS protection platforms have nothing to do with the fact that these tech people who have lots of money because they work for Google can also hire a booter for very little money and use that to take things down. That's just pure coincidence that those things align. But I work with Zayo. I contact Zayo in December. I say I need a direct cross connect to an ISP. I need DDoS protection. They offer me 200 megabit per second clean traffic, which is very little, and 2 gigabits per second DIA, which is upload speed, for $2,000 a month. And I say okay, and
Wow.
I find a way to bleed myself, a man who cannot process credit cards, of $2,000 a month. I signed the contract, and then the very, very long process of getting set up is it takes forever to get the things signed. It takes forever to get everything okayed. I buy a router. It goes to the data center. It takes months more to get set up. And the time my fucking data center loses my router. So then when it does get set up, I have to find another router, and they provide me one because I guess they feel bad about losing my other one. Because it's
just lost it. Yeah, I remember you saying
just lost it.
that they lost your router.
They got me another one, which I had to learn. It was a different brand, so that kind of sucked, but it worked. But I get a physical cross connect and it doesn't work, and they diagnose that the cable's bent, so they have to send a technician out to fix it. It's like it takes 10 months to set this up, 10 months to get that contract signed, to get people involved, to get the right people involved, to figure out what the fuck is wrong, get the cross connect set up, to get the new router. It takes 10 months, and then in September it's on, and then in August I'm gonna say okay, I'm gonna test it. I have a direct contract with them for 3 years. Everything is legal. Their AUP says nothing about what I'm doing. It just says as long as it's legal, we host it. As long as it's not a threat to the network, we host it. I turned it on. 12 hours later, Blake Willis, a 20-year veteran of the company and a quote-unquote network architect from the US but living in Paris, France, at the Zayo Paris headquarters, sends an internal email, and I only get access to this by accident. And he's like, read their Wikipedia page. This is a clear violation of our AUP. They need to be dropped. And I'm pretty sure this guy's a friend of Liz Fong Jones or whoever. And within 12 hours, we are cut on a 1 a.m. Sunday, Paris, France time. This guy is on email getting this shit shut down instantly, without negotiation, without contact. And I have yet to be contacted. I have one email from them saying that your service is terminated because of an AAP violation. I contacted my account manager. I contacted the people involved. I contacted the senior vice president, who I had the personal phone number for. He doesn't answer his fucking phone. And I have not gotten a single word of any of this about what has happened. What's frustrating is like, okay, Cloudflare has broken a couple times in regards to high profile stuff. 8chan went, Daily Stormer went. I guess it was my time. That I can accept. Cloudflare is just one company.
Okay, 1 second for the audience who may not know. Cloudflare is a company that provides a lot of services, but the main one we're talking about is DDoS protection, right? Like that's the kind of the main service where they've broken. And they very famously had hosted all sorts of websites, some of them considered to be extremely offensive, like Daily Stormer.
They host ISIS websites, and the Department of Defense has explicitly instructed them to not drop any terrorist sites because it's useful for that to stay online.
Right.
They host a website which is explicitly dedicated to torturing animals, and that is probably federally illegal under the Animal Crush law, which most people don't know. But Animal Crush is videos of crushing small animals. That is as illegal as child pornography in terms of like hard federal rules against it, and not many people know that. But so it's like these animal torture videos are probably federally illegal. Cloudflare host it. No problem. No problem. They host it. You want to see a monkey get a drill through the skull? Cloudflare's got your back. You want to see ISIS beheading people in the desert? Cloudflare got your back. And what's hysterical is that Cloudflare put out a message saying that we have these policies. It's not a good idea to censor stuff. Every time we censor a website, authoritarian regimes send in requests to take down other websites that are journalistic and pure in intent using the same language that we used to drop a website in the past. Very smart statement, very correct statement, completely understandable position. 2 days later, at 1 a.m. Sunday, I don't know what the fuck it is, 1 a.m. Sunday in European time, on Labor Day weekend, he reverses course and puts out another thing saying blocking Kiwi Farms, there's an imminent threat to life. And what boggles
Which is ludicrous.
For many reasons, and I'll get to that. But what's crazy is just like he in this statement, he says this was an easier decision than dropping 8chan and the Daily Stormer. So 8chan, which had the Christchurch shooting announced on it, and the Daily Stormer, which was sued for like defamation and had a $10 million judgment against it, was just an outright Nazi site. To Matthew Prince, the worst site he's ever seen. The ISIS site, nah. The monkey torture site, nah. The child nudism sites, nah, whatever. Kiwi Farms, oh my God, it's so offensive. And to really, really hammer how ludicrous the statement is that there's an imminent threat to human life, he took down the site immediately, so I did not have access to my moderation tools. He did not tell me. I received no contact about what the actual threat was. I still do not know what the fuck the actual imminent threat to human life was. And I have never received any contact from any law enforcement since the Drop Kiwi Farm ship began. So if this did happen, if there was an imminent threat to human life, if there was any chance of stopping a threat to human life, they did nothing. They disabled my ability to look at the site. They did not contact me to tell me what the threat was. And they obviously did not contact law enforcement about what the threat was because I never received any communique from law enforcement anywhere in any country. And I still haven't since the Drop Kiwi Farm stuff happened. So if there really was a guy on there unhinged, like, I'm going to kill this person. Here's my gun that I'm going to use to fucking murder them. If that person was on the forum, Matthew Prince did the best thing he ever could. He's like, I shut down the site. You have 12 hours before they fix it. Go, go, go. Because everything else was black hole. No ability for anyone to intervene and stop him from doing that. If there had been an actual threat to human life, he would have ensured that person would have died because there would be no way for anyone to do anything about it. That's my point.
Which is fucking, it's fucking crazy to think about because again, the response that the authorities tend to have to stuff like this is keep it up so we can find it, so we can track down data, so we could give us access to the thing so that we can go in and try and stop the threat and figure out what's behind it. But to shut it down means nobody gets to see it. There's no public crowdsourcing. And the crazy thing is, of course, if you know anything about Kiwi Farms, you know, the ability of the audience itself there to find information out is it's just crowdsourcing autism, right? You just get a group of people together who are interested in the topic and they will research it, sometimes very, very in depth.
Usually the worst that comes out on someone is like their voter registration information, which usually includes like an email address and a phone number, and that's it. That's the worst. And if anyone says anything like, I think that this person should be contacted, I think that we should do this, they get warned. It's like, no, don't. If you and if like, especially with like law enforcement, if you think that someone's like an animal abuser and you want to contact animal protective services, you can do that without announcing it on the forum. You don't need to encourage people to do this for you. If you really feel so inclined to step in, you don't need stickers on my website. Right. So there's like a hard no contact rule. And violent threat is, and they lie. The journalists, they put all these papers out and they say this website is synonymous with swatting. And the only reason why anyone could say that is because the fucking press keeps saying that it's a swatting website. That's the only reason why it's synonymous with swatting, is because you keep saying it. Someone swatted Marjorie Taylor Greene and then called back and said, haha, I'm from the Kiwi Farms. I'm a specific moderator on the Kiwi Farms. And it's like, this is obviously set up. How do you take this seriously? And they do, because it's useful. It's literally useful to them. So they just lie. And then you can't sue them for defamation. It's like, well, he said he was from Kiwi Farms. I had a reasonable reason to believe that it was from Kiwi Farms. So it's very frustrating all around.
I covered that with the Marjorie Taylor Greene thing. It's like this has all of the hallmarks of being from literally anywhere other than Kiwi Farms.
It's like when 4chan would raid sites and then say we're from E-Bomb's world. You know,
Right.
it's just trying to get them in shit. And how someone cannot understand that in 2022 is beyond belief. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I guess, is just like a boomer woman, but the press know better, and they're deliberately lying because when they write it, they're a credible source that consensus gets added to Wikipedia. So then you can say it's a swatting website. Well, then no host is going to look at that and say, I don't want to host like a criminal like swatting website. That's ridiculous. That should be illegal. And that's as far as it goes. So it's like the press is like, it's like with 9/11, right? It's basically exactly now. The plane crashes in, the journal plane crashes in, and the jet fuel, which is the media, leaks out, and it heats up those steel beams, and steel loses 50% of its strength at a certain temperature that jet fuel burns at higher. So then it crashes, and then once it starts crashing, once Cloudflare drops, and you have this like cascade, this momentum. No floor below that is going to hold up to the rest of the tower collapsing, right? Because then it's like, well, Cloudflare dropped them, we're not going to host them. Then Zayo drops, and then it goes down to Voxility. Well, fuck, if Voxility and Zayo did their due diligence and dropped them, then we can't host them. That's crazy. And then it's just like one thing after the other, and it's like a perfect storm of how a perfectly I have not received any contact from any attorneys or any prosecutors about any of this shit. It's literally just private companies going, oh God, we can't host this because they couldn't host it. And then they make a decision without talking to you, without like asking for clarification, without saying like, hey, we could host you, but you have to remove this content. And then now, finally, to kind of catch up to what's happened last week, after Zayo dropped us, I put up an error page explaining that a major ISP has dropped us and that this is something unprecedented. I've never seen this before. I didn't really account for this because it's never happened before, as far as I'm aware, to a U.S. legal website. And then I put that on a Ukrainian host called Virtual Systems, vsys.host, and Voxility, their upstream, black holed the error page explaining that ISPs were censoring the internet. And this was not serving the live site. It didn't contain docs. It didn't contain like a call. It was literally just an error page saying Zayo dropped us, and this is ridiculous. So that was like, what the fuck? And of course, the Ukrainians were like, wow, we have people literally dying for our liberty and freedom, and you stupid Americans are coming over here and censoring us. That's wonderful. So from there, I contacted TerraHost, which is a subsidiary of Epic. And if you're looking for hosting or domain names right now, Epic and TerraHost should be your go-tos because they're the only ones worth a shit as far as I'm concerned. And they put us up, and then their upstream, who I'm not going to mention, and I would request, if you are savvy enough to figure out who their upstream is, you do not do anything ridiculous. Don't do anything stupid.
Don't mess with any of these companies. Don't contact anybody, please, at all. Like this is something that gets dealt with behind the scenes through discussions.
We're trying to talk to them because you are Joe Blow, or in this case, you're probably some fucking guy that lives in the Netherlands. Your name is Vilkes Valkenburg or some shit, and you say every word with two vowels, and you sound ridiculous when you talk. And then you're sitting there and you're reading your email, and all these trannies and their Google email addresses, because from what I understand, Liz Fong still has his lizf at google.com email address, even though he doesn't work for Google anymore. He still uses that to harass people. So he's sitting there and he's getting all these emails and it's like, this is like a Nazi terrorist website. This violates GDPR. This violates EU subsection, yada, yada. This violates your AUP section 6F. Here's a document explaining all the terrible things they've done. Here's some Marjorie Taylor Greene saying that they're swatting congressmen in the United States. The CIA is going to come to your house and kill you if you don't fucking deplatform them right now. And you're just like, you're sitting there and it's like 6 a.m. and you're drinking your coffee and you're drinking it through a COVID mask because you live in the EU. And it's just a nightmare. It's just like, I can't fucking deal with this. So then you cut off contact, and then you just say like, fuck it, we'll deal with it later. And now it's like, okay, well, can we really host this? But what's really frustrating is that like I don't have a direct relationship with this company. So it's an ISP that I have no relation with, making, for the second time, because Vactility also did this, making content decisions on behalf of the connecting clients, the people who want to access the forum, on behalf of me and on behalf of the hosting company, which should scare people. ISPs should not be saying we're not going to broadcast this subnet because we don't like what's on it. That has never happened. So I'm waiting patiently, and I'm hoping that cooler heads prevail. And if there is an issue with content, this actually, like people say, why don't you just delete docs? I have never been told by Cloudflare, by Zayo, by Voxility, by this company. I have never received an email like, hey, we'd love to host you. We'd have no problems, but you can't post social security numbers. If it's a 9-digit number in a thread about a person, you have to delete it because we can't do that. That might be illegal. We don't want to deal with this. It's never that. It's never ever like, let's talk about things. It's just boom, you're gone. And I have no reason. I have no idea what the reason is for the deplatforming. So if this is not reversed, then it's complicated. Because right now, if you go to just in general, if you're a tech guy and you're curious, if you go to ping.pe and you type in 103.114.191.1, that's my IP address for the forum, kiwifarms.net. You can do an ENS lookup. You will see that there is connectivity from some of the internet, but not all of the internet. And this is the end of the internet. You have the internet. It is a network of networks. When half the internet can reach something, but the other half cannot, it is no longer an interconnected network. It is a tattered, torn piece of shit network that is being completely fucking ruined by weirdos. So my options are very limited because these are one of the tier 1 providers. There's only like 7 of them. Most of them are like in China and Japan and shit. 3 of them are American. So there's like a finite number of tier 1 providers I can get transit from that have transatlantic cables. However, I can hide my backend. I can put one server in the US, one server in Europe, and then I don't need transatlantic cables to transit me directly because that's happening on the back end. You can connect locally. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to set up that my IPs work everywhere through small ISPs. And that's a pain in the ass, and it's very expensive because it's a big website. It has a lot of content, and we push at our peak about 3 gigabits of content per second. It's a lot. And we push almost like more than half a petabyte, 500 terabytes of data per month. It's a lot of like images and videos and stuff. And that makes it difficult because when you go to a data center and an exchange will usually charge about like $50 per 100 megabit per second IX. So it's ludicrously expensive. I can't afford it. It helps to have one transit who you can actually stand by, who's going to give you cheap bandwidth. So to sum it up kind of plainly, the situation is extremely dire for everyone. You, as an independent customer of your ISP, cannot access a website that is on the internet because there is another ISP that your ISP uses that says you should not be able to access it. And that has never happened in history, as far as I'm aware, for a U.S. legal website to be blocked by tier 1 providers in the United States. It's a U.S. company for no reason. For literally, as far as I'm aware, no reason.
Yeah, and that's horrifying. Like this concept that something exists, it's out there, and then somewhere in the chain, effectively one person just goes, nope. And then and there's no recourse. I mean, well, there kind of is, right? Like there's some recourse, but you mentioned it's expensive, isn't it? Like, isn't there some way around it through a whole bunch of like an unfathomable
it's really not
cost?
any better. It's essentially I have to go out and because Europe has basically the US has no connection whatsoever. Europe does because Europe has many small ISPs that are, regional. They're like Germany only or Munich only or just like the Netherlands. They're per country. So you have little ISPs that have peers with each other. And when the website goes down on these major network, well, you can still get a packet from Hungary to the Netherlands just fine because these small ISPs still pass messages to each other. It's more difficult with the United States because the United States has essentially like a handful of ISPs, and they all do transit through these backbones. So if a backbone says no, then you're fucked in the US. There is no like fiber optic. For the most part, there's no fiber optic lead for individual ISPs. So I'm essentially going to small ISPs and their exchange points, and I'm saying I want to have a peer with every small shitty ISP in this country. And I have like right now, I'm paying like $50 to have connectivity to all of Ukraine, basically, and it's going to be like that for everywhere. I can go and say, I want to set up in Luxembourg. I want to get peers to France, Germany, Belgium, and the Netherlands from here. I want to go over here and do this with Poland, and like and that's expensive, and that's a huge pain in the ass. That's why you have people like Blake Willis with the designation network architect, because his job is to manage all this bullshit on the network. So there isn't like a recourse in terms of actually fixing it, because even then I don't have I don't have submarine cables. I don't have cables crossing the Atlantic. It's I have to cheat basically and put two servers in two different places and find a way to get that transit without having a contract.
Just build your own cable, bro. Like just make your own.
Well,
right?
The good news is I've been contacted by Kanye West, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Jordan Peterson, and we're going to make Yeezy, Musky, Trumpy, Peony ISP, and we're going to have an interspatial, intercontinental 6G setup, and it's just going to work. It's just going to work.
Yes, that's how it is. Well, I mean, that's the crazy thing when you because that's always been the libertarian answer, right? Like you build your own thing, and then once you've built your own thing, it's fine. Like you can just have it. But the internet isn't anyone's thing at all. And I know you and I have had this discussion kind of ongoing for years now, that the internet's this different sort of animal because one, the internet doesn't exist outside of government. It can't. It's not something that would work. You at least in the iteration we have now, because you have to lay physical cables literally across the entire planet to get data from one point to another.
Yeah, and historically, those fiber optic providers understood their place in the network. If we start making decisions, then not only do we harm the health of this thing that is precious to humanity, very literally, it opens us to more complaints. Why would you make yourself the the bureau of whatever the fuck, and handle all these asinine complaints about transit between two ISPs you're not related to? You peer with them in Norway, and you peer with them in Kansas. Like, why should I care about these two companies and what they're providing? I just lay cable. I'm a cable guy. I don't do hosting. So to like deliberately open yourself to complaints like that and to make a moderation department. It's like, why? Just say, do you have a warrant? No, sorry, we can't help you.
It's the most baffling thing of internet censorship, moderation, whatever, is that anyone does it at all. Because of Section 230, you really don't have to. Like you're not required to make any sort of effort to do anything other than to remove explicitly illegal content, but only when you have knowledge of it. So it's like, I know for me, for example, I had, when I was on YouTube, when I'm on Twitch or whatever, you have to have moderators because they have some content that has to be moderated that could come from the chat. So you have to do something, and everything you have to do makes everything else more fucking annoying. Because it's like, well, that's probably not acceptable. And then someone's like, oh, well, why? Well, that's not acceptable. Well, why is that acceptable? It's like, do we really have to do this? Do we really have to do this? So the best policy, in my opinion, is just, very basic, very clear rules of, for speech purposes in general, no child pornography. How about that? That's a baseline rule. No child porn. Cool. Done. Simple. Pretty straightforward. But for a lot of websites like Locals, for example, and this is actually kind of a nice policy, is no pornography at all. So if there's something pornographic, you remove it, and that's it. And that's a simple rule. Like, is there nudity involved? Sure, that's pornographic. Take it down. and that keeps everything clean. But when you start having to get in to make the judgment calls, even on that, so like what constitutes nudity, what's acceptable, is something art, blah blah blah, and people always push. It's like, for me, I don't want to ever moderate anything, because once you do, you have to moderate everything. It's insufferable, and it always pisses people off. And it's way better if there's just, if you're not the one having to do it. But that's the trick, though, right? Is to put a moderator access point at every single spot on the fucking line, so that someone can be complained to sufficiently that they'll stop whatever you don't like.
Yeah, and it's nonsense, and they celebrate this. Like, I- I never at any point feel like this is a marginalized group, and they're genuinely being hurt by this content, because they say it's a harassment, swatting, terror. They call it a murder site. They literally call it a murder site. It's like, okay, so you have this murder site. We swim in blood and we eat babies, right? We're terrible. But then they're on Twitter with their real names and photos saying like, yes, Queen Slay, good job, ISP, dropping this unilaterally. Yes. It's like, okay, so you're obviously not like afraid of anything. Because if I would never, for instance, I would never say anything about cartels. I'm terrified of the cartels. I don't care if I'm in Serbia. I don't care what. I'm not going to make jokes about the Mexican cartels. I wish them luck in their business endeavors. Yeah, I'm not going to go on Twitter, because here's a true story. A bunch of kids who were trying to be anonymous hackers said, like, okay, after Scientology, we used to take down the Mexican cartels. So they went on and said, we're going to be anonymous hackers and we're going to hack the cartels. They both died, and I think his sister got kidnapped and raped. So like those are people that you don't hear a lot about in journalism spheres, because they will kill you. As far as the murder site goes, obviously not very scary if you're on Twitter announcing your every location at every second of every moment, and announcing your plans and actively conspiring against them like all the time. Because if you were afraid for your life, you would not be doing that. Just to compare and contrast, I never feel like these are actually people who are in a position of vulnerability.
No, they're not. They feign vulnerability. Because it benefits them to feign vulnerability. But I want to go back to something that you kind of talked about, and we've talked about it before, but I think it just bears repeating. Kiwi Farms is known as a swatting site, even though I don't know there's any link of any swatting ever to Kiwi Farms, and there's a million links of swattings to any other number of sites, like or just Call of Duty, or right. That's one of the most famous swattings, because it got the wrong guy killed last year. No one called for Call of Duty to be shut down over that swatting, by the way. Like, no one's like, oh, we had a guy get swatted by two guys having a spat over a Call of Duty game, and the guy who got swatted wasn't involved. It was an old address of the other guy, and he got killed. Literally murdered. No one's like, you know what, Call of Duty, their text chat or their voice chat, that should probably be shut down because someone gets killed by the police over this thing. And one of the guys at least got convicted for this stuff.
He got convicted for, I think a murder charge.
It was one you don't want.
It was one that's like, oh, your life is over. That sucks. GG.
And so, and he deserved it, by the way, for participating in swatting. In my opinion, is attempted murder and should be treated as such. But it's like, okay, so you have this thing, it happens here, it originated here, no one calls it out. Something about Kiwi Farms makes it different. And it's the crazy part of this is that for all of the nonsense about Kiwi Farms being a swatting site, for the nonsense about Kiwi Farms bullying people into suicide, all of this is based on very, very dubious data, for one. But for two, even if you took them as true, it pales in comparison to what happens on Twitter every day. It's not even close.
Yeah. If there's a video, can't believe I'm gonna promote this guy. There's a guy called Destiny. It's a man's name. And he
wait. Are you talking about Destiny? Like the Destiny?
Yeah, the Destiny. There's a guy called
Beta.
He has a bit of a history with Keffals. So when Keffals started doing this Kiwi Farm shit, Destiny was perhaps one of the only people publicly skeptical who had any kind of audience at all. That wasn't like Nick Rekieta, right?
Yeah.
So after the heat kind of ramps up, Keffals starts doing like a deep dive into all the things that people are saying with the Kiwi Farms, and he puts out a couple weeks ago, I want to say October 1st, he puts out a manifesto. So if you Google Destiny Keffals manifesto, you'll find a video. But in that video description, there's a destinygg.substack.com, and that is his link to all his findings, and it will go over point by point all the things that they say and how it's bullshit. Essentially, the argument against the Kiwi Farms is that it does allow docs and it does allow pretty in-depth conversations about people, but that alone is never like impressive enough to be like, yeah, we should start hacking off fiber cables at this point. We've gone too far. So they have to tack on, it's synonymous with swatting, and Bew killed himself, and they bullied 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 trans girls to death, and they laughed about it. I was like, no. No, we didn't.
Yeah.
We literally didn't.
Yeah, the only things I've ever seen are there are 3 deaths attributed to Kiwi Farms. One is Bew, who I'm going to go on record. Bew's alive. I don't buy that for a second. That is the most convenient setup to internet death yourself is what Bew had. Effectively total anonymity, and then some third party who definitely totally knew who Bew was, never mentioned it, but got a picture of ashes or whatever, and that was totally it. So that's it's definitely not Bew doing that. It was definitely not Bew just doing that on their own. So that's one. Then you have the person who like someone had said, was it like the husband or whatever, blamed Kiwi Farms? Or, I can't remember. The story's a little weird.
Okay, so real quick, that would be a fourth, but nobody ever brings that up because it's really bad optics. You have Bew, who's still alive. You have one of the people who was a frequent caller to Trans Lifeline, who died right before Nina and Greta were kicked out of Trans Lifeline. They left in their suicide note that they didn't want to live in a world where Donald Trump was president and sites like Kiwi Farms exist, like in the same breath.
Right.
And Trans Lifeline, Nina and Greta, trying to destroy the site because they were being exposed for annulment, said that they killed themselves because of the Kiwi Farms, because it was mentioned in the suicide note, even though they did not have a thread. They had no content on the site, so there's no way that we could have driven this person to commit suicide. The transgender spouse of the person who had killed themselves came out, publicly denounced the statement, and pressured them to stop bringing them up as a point in their favor. So eventually they did. That doesn't get brought up as much. Second is, or third is Terry Berry. Terry Berry was a real woman. The the fine members of the press have repeatedly called her trans. She was not trans. She killed herself because she was horrifically emotionally and physically abused by her boyfriend. Her boyfriend blames us, and that is the narrative that gets run with. The family of Julie Terry Berry blames the boyfriend. Julie Terry Berry repeatedly threatened to kill herself because her boyfriend had put her into pornography, and said, if you leave me, I don't really have anything else, I'll kill myself. And he left her and she killed herself. And that's our fault, apparently. And then the fourth is Chloe Segal. Chloe Segal was severely mentally ill. They had ran charities saying that, I think it was that their dad had cancer and they needed money for the cancer treatment. That was a lie. They were getting transgender surgery, and they used that money for the transgender surgery. So once that came out, they were basically ostracized from the trans community. Nobody wanted anything to do with Chloe Segal, and they were evicted by their roommates for pointing a knife at them and having a mental breakdown. When they went to the hospital and came back, the locks had changed and they were effectively evicted. So they were homeless for a couple of weeks. They tried to do a GoFundMe again, but nobody donated, and they set themselves on fire in public, stating that the reason they were killing themselves is because of mental health care and houselessness in the United States. And that is also my fault, apparently.
Yes. Well, all of this is your fault. That's true. I 100% agree with that.
I mean, look, here's my thing now. I'm going to fucking murder the internet. I'm going to systematically pull this apart like a child with an insect in his hands. I will destroy this shit by myself. I am a one man apocalypse, and this will be the end of the internet, and it will be my fault. I'm bringing you all with me. I'm going to have this shit regulated. I'm going to bring back net neutrality. I'm going to make the internet miserable by the time I'm gone. That is my objective. So you better be on my side, because this is the Samson option. I'm going to collapse the pillars in, the temple's coming down, and you're all going to be buried with me.
Well, thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Samson. You ass. No, something kind of needs to happen though. Which I hate to say, that something needs to happen, but there's always a starting point, and it never stays there. The starting point is never the end point. It always goes beyond, it always goes too far, and it always wraps up everybody else. And some people on the internet have figured this out. Some people understand. And the only way we're going to stop that is if there is some sort of internet bill of rights or something that guarantees the action, that people will get to have access to the internet. We need the same thing, frankly, with the banking system, obviously, right? Like, because that's the other choke point that
I
that
still
is there.
maintain that the banking is more important. If you can make it so that people could send money to each other for any kind of legal transaction, I think that would fix the internet. But I think that's even less likely to happen than any kind of free speech internet legislation.
Right. No, it's and none of them should be that controversial. Like, frankly, none of them should be controversial at all, but they are, apparently. So, well, hey, let me, I've got some super chats here, and some of them directly reference you, so I want to read them as we talk about this. Decaf Geek says, Josh, your perseverance is really incredible. Is there anything people can do to help? Right, EFF, ACLU, anyone? I hope you're still getting support behind the scenes. This shit is ridiculous.
Okay, the ACLU is useless. Don't even bother. EFF might. However, when people write them, they say have the guy contact us. And when I've contacted the EFF in the past, I've not had any success. They obviously don't like me. The guy, like, they wrote an article that was kind of like, well, the censorship shit is bad. But one of them was like this woman from Berlin. You can't trust Berliners. The other one was like a very serious, like, fair use copyright attorney who has a very respectable history in litigation. But I don't know, these are like serious people, and I don't think that they'll go to bat for me. I don't think that this is like the case that they want to try, because it's just like the media has poisoned the narrative to such an extent that they don't want to be associated with it. As far as like help goes, you can't really send me money. If you want to learn cryptocurrency, that's great. If you want to learn Tor, that's useful, because then you can still access the site even if you're on the US side of the internet. the internets at this point, the multiple lowercase I internets. However, there is one thing that you can do, and be nice. If you are not able to access kiwifarms.net, you may submit to your ISP that there is an outage and that you would like to access this website, but you cannot because your trace route is not complete, but you know for sure that it is up. Be nice. This will cause an instigation because people will be like, why doesn't this route transit? And then you have companies talking to each other, which is worse than like abuse complaint tickets. You'll have companies being like, why is this IP blocked? What's wrong with it? My customers want to access this. And then that will put pressure on the right people. I think that if and that's my final plan, because right now it's still very cordial. We're waiting for an official response and yada yada. I don't want to be an asshole to any specific company, but I think that's what needs to be done is people need to complain. If it comes down to that, I think that thousands of people writing their ISPs, not only writing their ISPs, because those ISPs have local branches. You can write your state congressman who will respond. I have gotten many responses from my state congressman because they have nothing better to do. You can write your federal congressman too, because there is an election and they are, and you can not, I'll lay this all out nice and easy and say, like, this is, find your ISP, figure out where they are. This is the bottleneck. This is your state congressman, and the states can legislate net neutrality by themselves. They don't need to wait for the federal government for that. And I just think that there is a consumer aspect to this that didn't exist before with like Cloudflare. People complaining to Cloudflare that they want a site back. It's like, oh well, who gives a fuck? People complaining to their ISPs who are then complaining to other ISPs about transit issues. I think that's more likely to be fixed. But then I don't know. It's like, an ISP can say that they don't want to serve, a specific client, which is why I don't want to cause problems for my upstream by fucking with their contracts with this company. But yeah, I think that soft inquiry from people might help right now. But that's about it.
Smith 13. It's because you answered the trans question and sidewalk internet is happening.
Yeah, it is mostly trans stuff, and that's sort of bewildering. You have, like, for instance, like Vordrek is a guy who is crazy, literally crazy, just calling random people pedophiles, going after their work, contacting their employers, calling them pedophiles, saying that if they don't fire XYZ, literally extorting them, saying, if you don't fire XYZ, I'm going to write articles about how you and your family are pedophiles, just like a complete fucking monster. And he has not had the success that a few men in drag with fancy email addresses have accomplished by writing complaints. I really don't understand how this power has centralized in the hands of a couple very mentally ill people, but it has, and it's quite shocking.
I just don't get why any of these people are actually afraid of any of this stuff, but they are. It's just weird to me. It's like the reason I say that is because over my time covering all of the censorship and cancellation stuff, I see over and over the threat that something will happen. The threat that something will occur, that somebody will show up. And it no one ever does. Like, these people threaten to like protest outside of conventions. They don't show up. They never show up. They never do anything. It's always people who are never going to go and do the thing. They're never going to buy anything. They're never going to participate, but they say that they won't participate. And then the company's like, oh, well, if this person won't participate, our whole company's structure will collapse. And it's so crazy when you think about like how this happens with ISPs. It's like your customer base is so not involved with this random transgender person in a different country, like that their complaint should be effectively irrelevant. That's like me calling up a coffee place in Dubai and saying, I'm not going to buy coffee from your stupid place until you allow.
Here's the issue with that, though, is that you can say that, like, yeah, obviously this person's not going to lose your money, but you know what you can do is you can go on one of those fucking review sites. I forget like Yelp. You can go on Yelp and go to this coffee place and say, this coffee place is the worst coffee I ever had. There was shit in my coffee. I tasted it and I spit shit out all over the place. Then I said, why is there shit in my coffee? And they said, Allahu Akbar. And they threw a cup at me. It was just a traumatic experience. Like, that's what they like. It's not like, oh, they're gonna cut their business. It's, oh, they're going to try and ruin me. They're going to call me a pedophile. They're going to try and dismantle my life. That's part of the reason why they have a lot of power.
Right. But my point is, like, they can't really do anything. That's the crazy thing. They can't do that much damage. They try, certainly, but it doesn't stick. Now, unless there's something there for some people there is, right? Like, they're going to expose whatever and they smell smoke and they go after that thing, and it turns out there is fire behind. That's a possibility for some people. But you figure most of these people are just normal business folk, and like someone will say something negative and then it should just slough off because it'll go away after a little bit. If you just ignore these people, they go away most of the time.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's the best thing you can do is just say no. Like saying no, we're not interested, and like they immediately move on usually. And even like their attacks, if it doesn't work, like TerraHost received an extremely large DDoS attack at the same time that we lost transit, and it didn't work. They had protections, and then they gave up, and the attack's over. If it gets, if they try their best and doesn't work, they usually move on they lose interest very quickly, in general. But yeah, it's like, and again, they don't like talk to you and say like, this is what's going on. Cause I guess they're afraid that if they talk to you, you'll like stab them in the back and blast it for whatever reason. So it's very hard to get concrete information. And I'm building like a list of companies that I've dealt with and my experience with them and which ones I would recommend in retrospect, even if they can't host me. Like, I understand that if you don't want to deal with it, you don't want to deal with it. But I rate them based on like how they manage it. If they like communicate and tell me what the fuck is happening, um, I'm very appreciative of that, because so many people don't. I am so often just waking up and shit's not working and nobody knows why. And there's one email in my inbox that says, "Hi, we're such and such, and you violated our AOP. Service was terminated. Bye bye." Like, what am I supposed to do with this?
And they never tell you what term that you violated or what thing violated it. You did. And the problem with this is that it's really hard, because a lot of people have asked me with my stuff with YouTube. They're like, "Well, you're going to sue YouTube?" It's like, for what? Like, what do you want me to sue them for? Are you going to sue so-and-so, sue so-and-so? It's like, okay, first of all, this is not it's not an effective way to go about your life, suing everybody. In fact, if you do that, you end up on Kiwi Forums, Melinda. If you just try and sue everybody, that's what happens, because it's not going to work. But the way that they deal with these acceptable use policies and terms of service is that they just hold on one second. Never mind. They have these acceptable use policies in terms of service that give them such broad power to stop you that it's like you should be able to able to do it. But if they act in quote unquote good faith, then it doesn't actually matter if they breach their agreement to provide services
shit
to
like
you.
though. It's like, A, don't spam. B, don't port spam. C, no malware. D, nothing illegal in the US. E, any reason or no reason at all reserved by us, fully and forever. Goodbye. And it's like, okay, you violated our AUP. Well, why?
Right.
E, we felt like it. Literally, go fuck yourself. Bye-bye.
Yep. And what should occur, there should be a breach of contract claim that you can make, but there isn't one, because you contracted away your ability to sue effectively by saying that they could shut you down for anything, anything that they want, anything that they perceive. And so it's like, but if you don't violate the policy, and that's another reason they don't tell you what actually violated the policy, they just say you did, is because if they tell you specifically, you could argue against it. You could maybe build a lawsuit, but there isn't ever anything to do. And you're just stuck on this. And at some point, I think someone is going to make an effective argument somewhere that'll kick this off, but it may take the passage of legislation. And we need someone, some congressman, to have some fucking stones and a little bit of internet savvy to do that, but they just don't.
Well, I asked you about this because it is a fact, like literally Liz Fong Jones going on Twitter and be like, "We're going to target this company and we're going to organize a harassment campaign and we are going to send them emails until the service is dropped over and over and over again." That is literally, to the letter of the law, tortious interference. But there's no possible remedy for it except for actual losses. And I have actual losses, in quadruple digits easy, but actually, like,
but the retainer's 5 digits.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Taking it to court is $75,000. So it's not that much loss. So it's like there's no point. These people are free to completely try and fuck you over with total what's the word,
Impunity.
Like just no recourse whatsoever, unless you want to do it at a loss to make a statement. And it's like, well, maybe I could do it like a crowdfunder on like GoFundMe or whatever, but that would get shut down. You can't crowdfund a lawsuit for the Kiwi Farms. Are you fucking joking?
Yeah.
So that loops back to the banking issue, which will never ever be fixed because that's how they knowingly control people.
Yeah, and if they can squeeze your money, or if they can, even worse, if they can just prevent your ability to access your money, then it doesn't matter how much you have. I talked about this when Trump was leaving office. It's like, look, you can be a billionaire all day, but what if no bank will take your check?
Yeah. How about this? This is a fun thing. Count Dankula, Nazi pug meme, gets them in trouble. Goes to court, they litigate it, they litigate it, they litigate it, they litigate it, they litigate it. They come to a conclusion, set precedent, £800 fine. He says, I'm going to appeal this to the Supreme Court. I'm going to appeal this to, and then that gets rejected. And then he says, I'm going to appeal this to the Human Rights Tribunal of the UN and the EU and all this shit. And they just take the money from his account, £800 debit from his checking account. And they say, we consider this matter resolved. Goodbye. And that's it. You don't get a say in that. So they're literally just saying, like, you see memes, like there's that Leonardo of Biz or something, and he like posts the videos like eat the bugs, and it's just like, you have been deducted 500 good boy points from your account. You are now reduced to insect meat only. It's like, that's literally it. You have made a Nazi pug meme. This offends the British values. You have been deducted £800. This matter is resolved. Goodbye.
Yep. And well, PayPal's now trying to do that privately.
Oh yeah.
With their violations of the acceptable use policy. And we can only hope that whoever that hits the first time sues effectively and wins, because if they lose, we're fucked. I mean, if a company with access to your bank account can just debit you $2,500 when you have a perceived violation of their AUP, which they get to be the sole determinant of, that's insane. But that's what we're signed up for right now. And they announced the change ahead of time, so everybody's on notice, so it's fine.
Yeah, and I think that like when they add like facial recognition technology, they'll have it like China, where it's just like you have unlawfully assembled, and then instead of having like the vans where everyone gets up and like you get swept into the van, and then you're like a martyr because you get like a mugshot and you're protesting your freedom. It's like you have been deducted $200, and you will be deducted $200 per hour that you loiter. And it's like nobody's going to stand there and just lose money and not be martyred at all. They'll just dissipate, and that's how they'll dissuade people from acting against the establishment.
Yep. It's that's how they do it. Make an example of anybody, and then everybody needs to, everybody else just calms down a little bit. It doesn't do the thing that they wanted to do. It's the quintessential chilling effect. The Supreme Court talked about it in regards to how government does stuff. And that's the world that they all live in, really. Like, that's the actual control. It's not about the individual person that they're going after. It's about because you're resilient, right? Like you're here doing this, you're still fighting, and you're like, which is probably, I shouldn't have called you resilient. I probably should call you retarded, but like, you're still out trying to do the thing. And you're the kind of guy who will keep doing it, because even if it's spite, it's like, okay, fine. Let's fucking do it. But the next guy won't, whether you win or lose, the next guy won't do it, because he goes, I can't do that. I can't put up with that. I just won't make my website. I just won't say what I mean. I just won't do this. I just won't say anything.
Yeah. Like the smart person in my situation gets to the point where, they can't get a credit card processed. And they're like, well, there's no business prospects for running a site that can't process credit cards. I guess this idea won't work. And then they move on.
It's like opening a restaurant without a liquor license. Like, what are you going to do? You're not making money on the food. You make money at the bar.
And then, your next, that's like your hint that you're fucked, I think, is the credit card processor won't work. Because then the next set of problems come in. And when you start having services drop you have to self-host. And then every time you self-host something, it gets more and more expensive. You have to sink in thousands more on hardware and find your own contracts and do things that normal people don't ever have to think about. If you're like a normal person and you set up a website, what you do is you go to a website like Linode and you just buy a VPS. They start at $5 a month. Then you go to Cloudflare. Cloudflare is free. You can buy a .com domain for $13 a year. And with that alone, you have a domain name, you have DNS, you have DDoS protection, you have internet, you have IP range, you have everything that you need to set up a website and run it for a minimum of like $5 a month, extra $1 per month for the domain name. And you're good to go. You're all set. Now you escalate having to self-host everything and acquire it yourself. It's $2,000 a year for the IP range. It's $500 a year for the ASN. To have your own server, that's an investment of probably $5,000 to $8,000, depending on what you need. The contract with the data center, that's another $500 for 1 gigabit per second internet connection. DDoS protection, if you're getting that from ISP, Zayo is $2,000 for less than what you probably need. If you need layer 7 protection, you're probably gonna have to contract a specific company that sells that as an enterprise thing, probably another $1,000 a month, easy. And then you have to self-host your own DNS. You have to take care of all the technical aspects that a normal person never has to think about. So when
Or
you
even
go through,
has any idea how to do.
oh God, I'm learning shit all the fucking time. I don't know what BGP is. You know how I learned BGP? Usually, when someone wants to learn networking,
That's
they go to
big girl
college.
protection.
Yeah,
That's just you wear a salad. You wear a salad and she'll stay away.
it's the border gateway protocol. It's the way that the internet actually glues itself together. Usually, if you want to learn BGP, you go to school for 4 fucking years, you get a degree, and then you come out and you get hired by a company like Zayo. Me, I want to figure out what BGP is. I'm on Signal talking to a guy that kicked me off his hosting company 6 years ago saying, hey, how do I do BGP? Real quick, bro. How do I set this up to announce the IP addresses? And it's like, whoa, what a load of fun. Learning on the job.
No, it's fucking crazy. Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting into earlier. Is one, there is no internet without government, and there actually is no private company internet. Like, there's no one-stop shop for any of this. It's so broad. It requires so much interlocking parts that there isn't a place. There is no build your own. And that's the scary nature of it to me, because if it's, well, just build your own sandwich shop. It's like, well, okay, I could do that. And then, like, I can always go to a grocery store and buy bread, or I guess if worse comes to worse, I could make the bread. Like, it takes a lot of disambiguation to get away from being able to make a sandwich shop. But a website is impossible.
That's a great metaphor, though. It's not. I can follow that metaphor to its logical conclusion. You want to go to get a sandwich. You can't get a sandwich. You're down banned. You open your own sandwich shop. You go to the grocery store. You get groceries. You're banned from the grocery store. You try to set up interconnection with all the different distributors that supply food stuff to all the different restaurants and stores and stuff. You're banned from that. So now you're in the backyard and you're telling the soil to grow the lettuce and the wheat that you will use on your sandwiches. You bought all this equipment to grind the wheat up and then to actually make bread with it. You've bought a complete factory set of utensils to automate the process, and you dug a basement under your house so that you can keep wheat over the winter because you still have to make sandwiches even when shit's not growing.
Right.
And then you set all this up, and then the guy that owns the street builds a brick wall in front of your business, and you're just sitting there in the dark, and there's this brick wall, and it's like, well, it's his street, bro.
Yeah. And the best part is that street only exists because the government gave him an easement that he wouldn't have otherwise gotten.
That's true.
And then the government says, well, it's a private street. What am I supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? It's like, well, it's not private. You gave it to him. You took land from someone else and said this street could be there. So let's make this happen. I do think it is time for government to step in. But the problem is, when government steps in, they won't do what we want. They won't keep it neutral, right? Like,
Yeah.
the government stepping in, I think, is the death knell of Kiwi farms. Like, you won't be able to exist because they'll go, oh God, this site is horrible.
I mean, if they do that, like, here's part of my issue is, it's like, okay, yes, I have very strong opinions about what should and should not be allowed on the internet. I have never been like, at this point, I would fucking, like, this is why people like say, like, why do you simp for China? I love the fact that China's just like, yeah, spooky shit. We don't do Halloween over here. Xi Jinping does not look like Winnie the Pooh. If you even fucking dare to suggest that, we'll kick your ass. XYZ, here's a big list of shit that's not allowed. Follow it. You'll have no problems. And make sure that your phone works, because we'll contact you to take something down when it needs to be taken down. In the US, it's just like, there's this, you're like walking around in fog constantly, and there's a couple guys that have like really high powered lights to see around them, so they know what the fuck's going on, but you're not invited to that. You're just wandering around, and then you just get like gored by a monster that's also living in the fog. You just have no fucking idea. I would love for my government to be as like China and say, like, oh, this is actually your problem right here. can't talk about the Jews on the internet. You just can't do it. You got to delete these posts. And it's like, okay, at least that makes sense. At least I
they have rules.
understand. You're censoring this shit. It's like, but in the US there are like rules, but they're set by a mysterious like board and like the most obtuse fucking way possible to give the illusion that there's still like freedom of speech when there's really not, because you have a joint like conspiracy of, especially with publicly traded companies. Here's a fun fact about publicly traded companies that you may not know. Cloudflare is publicly traded, by the way. There is a LGBTQIA plus friendliness index, and this is an index on the stock exchange where they buy stocks based on how friendly they are to the LGBTQIA plus community.
Yep.
So then, if you are selling stocks, stock go up, green line go up, right? So if the LGBTQIA index is getting tons and tons of money from BlackRock, which gets us money directly from the U.S. Federal Reserve, then your stock go up. You want to be why does everyone promote diversity on their site? Why do they all say how much they love gay people? Why do they make their avatars rainbow flags during Pride Months? Because green line go up. They do that. Here, we're buying your LGBTQIA plus score has gone up. We're now buying your stock at 10% over its market value. Literally. So then you own half your company still. Green line go up. Well, you just gained, hundreds of millions of dollars of net worth because your stock goes up. But then you're Matthew Prince, you're worth billions of dollars, and then the LGBTQIA plus index fund on the Dow Jones contact you going, this Kiwi Farm shit, not looking good. Not looking good for your LGBTQIA plus friendliness score on the stock exchange. If we cut this down, we sell what we have, it'll knock your stock down by about 25% in a single day, and then you'll lose, billions of dollars of net worth. That would suck. So then it's like, this is the worst site I have ever seen. This is the most terriblest site on the internet. This is the easiest decision of my life. I am terminating service for Kiwi Farms.
Please buy my papers. Please buy my papers. Please buy them. Yeah, no, it's crazy how much control, and we live in a completely different world than a couple decades ago. There is no consumer bottom line, because you're right. Everything publicly traded, and I don't think it's even exclusive to that, but specifically anything publicly traded that is subject to an ESG score, which is, I think that's what you're referring to, right? ESG, or are you referring more generally to something else?
I'm not sure. I know that there is a specific fund, like,
yeah, there's okay. I think it's two things, but they're on the same vein. So the ESG is it's a credit rating company. Oh, fucking hell. Give me just a second. I'll be right back.
Oh no, it's me again. Why is his avatar that? What the fuck is that? It's like an athletic man in like a bikini doing stretches. You know what's fun? I can show my my camera here. Wait, can this work? Let's see. Aha! I am now in direct control of the stream. What can I show? What can I show Nick Rekieta's chat while the site's down? I have so many options here. Pizza delivery. Oh, here, you know what? I'll show you this.
I'm back. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're back already. God damn it. I was gonna try to find some entertainment. I had
wait, oh, you were gonna do something? I have something for you. I have something for you. This is actually good. This is actually good. This is your revenge.
Okay. How did I turn people against Drexel?
Did you see his soft ass eyes?
Oh, he's got some soft eyes now. I see how it is.
Oh my god, dude! You probably haven't seen this picture. Let me pull up the original.
Oh, does he usually wear sunglasses or something?
No, he wears glasses.
Well, why are his eyes suddenly very soft?
So it's his totally not wife sent me this picture when he was visiting her, and I mean, it is fucking great. Here we go. Open this. Look at this picture.
Oh,
Look at that. Look at him.
Oh,
He's never gonna live it down. He's never, after the roasting he gave you about your soft eyes. You should never be allowed to live it down.
it looks like he's about to go golfing.
I know. It's so terrible.
How do you do, fellow white people? Would you like to hear about picking up women?
Oh my god. Okay. Couple more chats. I know we're trying to keep this down to about 2 hours. So let me read through these chats. Oh, but one thing, we're talking about ESG. Oh, damn it. That's where I was gonna go. But first, I have something really important I have to do. Because we're talking about ESG, we're talking about cancellation, we're talking about uncertainty. What you need to do is check out birchgold.com/knows. Birch Gold is a sponsor of the Rekieta Law Show here on Rumble, and they can tell you how to protect your IRA or 401k by potentially diversifying a portion of it into gold and silver. Gold and silver.
You have a sponsorship with a silver company, and you didn't offer me any silver.
A gold and silver company. It's gold and silver.
I want silver. Gold is for. Well, it's for the nose people.
Well,
the man's money is silver, sir.
Well, you can buy silver directly from birchgoldgroup.com or birchgold.com/knows. You can go there. If you don't have to do it through your IRA or 401k. That's just kind of one of the things they offer. But they'll ship you silver, they'll ship you gold, whatever you want, Josh. They'll ship it to you. And they even have Black Friday gold. You get a free gold bar with every $10,000 in precious metals you purchase, apparently.
10,000.
I don't know how big of a gold bar that's got to be.
Probably an ounce. I mean, it's a bar. You can make it like a quarter of an ounce a bar, technically.
Yeah, an ounce. I don't even know what gold's price is right now. But the reason I don't know is because I'm not a gold salesman. I'm a humble click merchant. So if you guys go to birchgold.com,
you don't have any gold or silver, Nick.
I said I'm not a gold seller. Like I'm not, I don't sell it. They sell it. I'm just here to get them to click the button. This green button.
Fucking silver, Nick.
They'll contact you back. Well, I know I have one Chris Chan silver coin.
Oh my God. What a hero. Man of the people.
But yeah, you can check this out. birchgold.com/knows. And most importantly, guys, they endured an entire year or an entire month of me making the most inappropriate jokes I could think of during their ads. And they said, yeah, we'll do another one. We'll do another month. So here they are, birchgold.com/knows, sponsoring me talking to the internet's villain, Joshua Moon. And they fully approve of it. They love it.
I'm going to send you something. It's on the topic of silver. I want you to put this on screen. Make it big.
Yeah, here we go. Can I copy image? Can I just paste it into fucking? Oh my gosh. Oh, hold on. I
save it and then drag into.
Yeah, I'm doing that. I'm doing that.
Get ready, chat. I want to look. I have a big box of silver coins, and I want to show off 2 of my favorites. Okay. It's important. It's like when you build model rail, you like show people every so often how you waste your time.
Oh my God. This is
you didn't see it before?
I kind of did, but I didn't really look. No.
Here's what's really funny about it is that
if you put this in, does it turn on the shower? Is that how that goes? Is that the country you're in? You have to plunk in a silver coin to your shower
to turn on the shower. What's funny is that the 10 shekels is half copper, half silver, and the Reichsmark is. I know this for a fact. The 5 Reichsmark is 13.88 grams of silver. It's very easy to remember how much that weighs.
God, they missed it. It should have been 14.88.
Well, the reason why they do that is because it's 90% silver, so it's 12.5 grams of silver, and the other one, because it's so impure, is 10 grams of silver. So there is more silver in the Reichsmark than the shekel. Fun fact.
Damn. Do you think that may have an origin somewhere, is why there's more of one than the other.
Oh, well, here's a fun fact in regards to coins, a little bit of coin knowledge in this
What are
stream
you,
about the
some
ice.
kind of cointism? Like,
Yes, I love coins. Listen, you know why coins have edges? Because the Jewish merchants in the England would trim the edges off the coins and like keep them and make the coins way less, and then make new coins out of the trimmings. So they added the reeded edges to coins to
the
stop people
ridges
from
you're
trimming them.
saying that go
Yeah,
around?
uh-huh. That's an anti-fraud thing that was added after a specific group of merchants in England decided to trim coins around the edges.
Oh my God. That's pretty interesting, though. I had not heard that. But
Money is very fascinating because money represents a country, what they choose to put on money and what it's made of. It represents a lot about that country at that time, which is why I find it fascinating.
it really does, and how just cultures transact business in general is pretty weird. Okay, Space Allen says, rooting for you, Null. Late to the stream, but thanks for having him on, Nick. The hatred towards this one man is insane. He's a good boy who did nothing wrong. Do you know I've been getting hate this entire stream, Josh?
What, in your chat? Yeah.
No,
There's
no, not in my chat. Actually, that'd be fine.
Uh-huh.
People can hate me in the chat. No one, actually, the chat seems to be pretty thing. I got swatted while we were here, but in my town, swatting doesn't amount to much. I get
They
a phone
still
call.
do that? You just get like
Yes.
interrupted for 5, like it gets shorter and shorter. I used to be able to play videos and stuff, and now I don't even get time to figure out what to play.
Yeah, but it happened. It happened right on here because you're such a villain. You're such a bad person. Have you thought about your life choices lately?
No.
Lamazone says there has to be a legal route available to the farms. This is a mistake that people make. Everybody says there has to be a legal thing. There doesn't have to be a legal thing at all anywhere. We want there to be, but there doesn't have to be.
Yeah, when you feel like you've been like given injustice, you try to think about how to get justice, and then you're like, wow, it really doesn't work in my favor ever.
Nope. And that's the hard part. It's about, so what we need to happen is we need the exact same thing that happened to you to happen to a website that is acceptable. Right? Like, you know what I mean by like conventionally acceptable, like a website that's just about puppies and kitties and not a crush one.
Oh, I'll tell you what's going to happen next. They're going to go after here. Okay, here's the thing. I'm very convinced of this after seeing like how these people talk, how they communicate, how they conspire, what they say when they get their way, when they say it when they don't get their way. I am very convinced that it's just a power and domination thing. They're sexually because they cut off their dick. How else do they sexually arouse themselves throughout their life? They get it by hurting people. And here you have a community of 60, thousands of people, tens of thousands of people that you don't like because they disagree with you on politics. You're like, I want to hurt these people, and I want to take things that they built and break them, and I want to deprive them of their ability to talk to each other and their community and their friendships, and I just want to destroy this because it arouses me to do so. And
yes. I fully buy into this theory. I legitimately do, because yeah, when there's an inability to sexually stimulate physically, people do it in different ways, and this sort of emotional stimulation and manipulation is just very, you can tell that it's intoxicating to these people because they do it all the time, constantly. It's what they live for.
But what sucks about me is that I'm a grown man now, so I'm not like a little boy to groom, and I'm not their mortal enemy, a woman. The thing they hate the most, more than anything else, even themselves, women. So I am very, very 100%, 1,000%, 1,000% sure that once this is done, if I give up because I'm like the internet is fucked, I have no routes to keep the site up. If that happens and I move on, they will move on to women's spaces. I've said this before, but because it's so much more potent for them to grab the reins on a female and women don't fight back as well, and there are fewer women in tech, so the autism required to just pick up and go and keep playing with different computer shit and figuring it out as you go along. That's less prevalent. So they will absolutely go after female dominated spaces that are quote unquote transphobic, and like the biggest one would be Mumsnet. They're already salivating over the idea of fucking over Mumsnet. But if Mumsnet had any issues right now, I would do everything possible to keep them up. So that's a problem. They know that if I do stabilize, my next step is I'm going to build my own Cloudflare specifically for a small group of websites that are in my situation or less so.
Is Mumsnet, is that related to Harry Potter stuff?
No,
just because like she's the enemy of the trans, right?
Oh,
like,
you mean literally J.K. Rowling and not Harry Potter? Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of. There is a large demographic of women in the UK who are very vocal about their opposition towards transgender stuff. And it's a bigger issue there. I think more people are like radicalized against trans stuff because it is like a legal issue. They are legally forcing women to tolerate this, and they don't want to. So they are more outspoken about it because they feel compelled to. So there's like this reputation that the United Kingdom is like a very anti-trans thing. Because of how many women are vocally against transgender inclusion in women's spaces. And Mumsnet is a place for mothers to talk about, in particular, being pregnant and having kids and raising kids, as the name implies, traditionally female things, right? But you have women who have children and they're like, these people are dangerous and I don't want my children exposed to them. And I do not want my children forced to integrate into what they want society to be. And that is an intolerable thing to people like Liz Fong Jones and Keffels because, number one, they hate women. Number two, they want access to the kids. And number three, they never want to be in a position of vulnerability to a woman. They always want to be in power over them.
Yes. Okay, here we go. Vibe AI. Regulation sucks, but same as phone lines, internet and banking need to be no denial of service for any reason without criminal intervention. Yep. I agree. And lots of criminals don't get their banking account shut down. That's Dude, the crazy thing. Awful people.
Like, I'm still in a position where I don't have a registered agent for my companies. I don't have a phone number. I don't have a place to send mail. I have my attorney, who is Matthew Harden, who is from he's an attorney in Washington D.C. in Florida, and he is willing to for no money, even willing to accept mail on my behalf, which is a godsend. I don't know what the fuck I'd do without him at this point. Which is like that is a charity that you don't expect from attorneys usually, like
right,
opening your fucking mail and reading it and scanning it for you, like that from an attorney, with someone who can practice law. That's an unusual donation of time and energy. So
he seems like a good dude, though. He seems like a good dude. So
but I would still like to have a proper virtual office and shit. And it's like, I just can't, like, everything is broken. Everything has been dismantled and it's extremely frustrating. And then, trying to replace it is just the biggest pain in the ass. I'm constantly having to deal with new issues. So I don't have time to go back and like fix the little stuff, like finding an agent, to the point where there's a guy out in Wyoming where my company is registered called Cobes. Also, oh my God, now that I tried to bring him up, King Cobra, JFS, that's his name. Very weird guy. He has two off eyes. He never looks in any specific direction ever. And he's a wizard into satanic witchcraft and stuff. I am genuinely considering offering him $100 to be my registered agent. He's an adult. He's mentally competent, technically, so he can do it. Just answer my mail and scan it. That's all I need. It would benefit us both at this point. So that's the level where I'm at. Like, I need King Cobra JFS, a man who cannot cook a burger, to answer my mail for me, so I don't have to take advantage of my attorney for much longer.
There you go. Get him to do it. The Pie Baker looks like Nick knows when his local Krispy Kreme has their donuts hot and fresh, leave some for the other customers. That's funny, but I got angled on camera the other day, and now I'm forever fat. Yep. So because of that, That's a funny joke, the pie baker. But there isn't a Krispy Kreme within 100 miles of me. Maybe not even 200 miles. Maybe not even 300. I don't even know how far it is. I don't think there's one in Minnesota anymore ever. I think the closest is like Des Moines, Iowa. So, and I have no idea.
How do you know this offhand? Someone's like,
so there's no Krispy Kremes around.
You eat Krispy Kreme, and then you're like, no, the nearest one is in Des Moines, Iowa. Actually,
okay, I'll tell you exactly how I know this
very often.
You want to know exactly how I know this? I've never been there.
Okay.
But there's so there was a college student at the U of M who would drive to Des Moines 5 hours or whatever in the morning, and he would drive 5 hours back to the U of M college campus in Minneapolis with a big stack of donuts, and he would sell donuts on campus. And Krispy Kreme sent him a cease and desist, and it blew up online because everybody's like, hey, fuck off, Krispy Kreme. And so then they retracted their cease and desist, and they actually gave him like a huge amount of donuts or gift cards or something like that. And like they let him have a van or something to deliver them in. But it was a big thing. So that's the closest one to the Twin Cities is however far Des Moines is. And that's why I know. I also remember that Krispy Kremes did exist in Minnesota briefly, and then they all closed down. None of them stayed open. It was weird. They're open everywhere else, just not here. So
the Krispy Kreme expert.
Actually, they're like my bottom rung donut, but I'll eat them if there's nothing else.
What's the one that's Canadian that's really famous?
Tim Hortons?
They're in Buffalo. They're great.
There's a Tim Hortons in the Mall of America. I went there and I bought 2 glazed donuts, and I took a bite of one and threw both of them in the trash.
Well, the problem is that you went to Mall of America and the Somali man made your donuts, and that's why they suck.
That's true.
Which is the story of the United States in general.
CCIE rants. Hi, Josh. Please keep fighting. Everyone listening, please consider sending Jersh some Bitcoin or Ethereum, but do not use Coinbase to send it. Jersh, where can we find your most current wallet address?
If you go to t.me/Kiwi Farms or Kiwi Farms chat, it's in the description. Or if you go to poa.st post/Josh, it is in my biography on that page. Do not send any money ever from any exchange directly to those wallets. Download a wallet yourself, send the money to yourself, and then send it to me. If you try to send money to my public wallets, they will delete your account without explanation.
Why? What did you do, Josh? How many did you outsniff Biden? Like, what did you do? I can't figure it out. I keep, every time I hear about it, I'm just like, it's fucking dumber every time. They delete other people's accounts for trying to send you money, but Bitcoin's the future.
Well, the exchanges aren't. I don't know what exactly, because I've changed them a couple times, the public addresses, and they get updated on that ban list. Because when I change them a couple months later, I get like a message saying like, I got banned from Coinbase. I tried to donate to you. So yeah, don't use the exchanges directly. Send it to yourself first. I don't know. That's the thing. That's the crazy thing is like you never get an explanation for any of this. You never get notified. And you never have a chance to appeal. Like when I got banned from Coinbase, like I never got an explanation as to why this happened.
Yeah.
I really don't know. I don't even know what to say. I just deal with it. And it's like I sound like people ask like, how do you have the motivation to keep going? How do you not let this get to you? And it's like, I find it very funny. I think it's so fucking absurd. It's hysterical. Like, oh, I hosted a cyberbullying website about a retarded man who's sitting in jail for raping his mother. And now the internet is tearing itself apart, trying to kick me off. It's like, that is funny. I don't care who you are. That's funny right there.
Yeah, no, it's terrific. And what's Chris Chan up to these days?
He's in jail.
I know. When's his trial actually happening? Is it next year sometime?
I think think that he's only getting I think he's entered in a plea deal or something, and he's only getting like a small sentence of like a couple months. But he's already been in jail for so long; it's going to be time served. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that's what's happened. Don't quote me on that. I don't know. I don't keep up with it. And then after, I don't know if he's going to go to a psych prison. I really don't know what the fuck. I think
he needs
last I-
something. He needs someone.
oh, he needs to be in like
badly.
a home. Yeah. He
Yeah.
needs to be divorced from the internet completely.
Yeah. He needs off the internet, and he needs some sort of guardian who can actually guardian. Crusader says, how much money does this 0.5% Jew need a month to run the farms?
Okay, let's say that you're Kanye West or Donald Trump, or I contacted Rumble because they have like that hosting service. I'm like, hi, I run the Q farms, blah blah blah. No reply. Okay, if I was like, I was subsidized, how much money would I need? Let's see, backend's 1,000, that's 500, it's another 1,000, and I'm racking them up with the IX stuff right now. I don't know, if you gave me $4,000 a month, that would be pretty comfy. It's not like a huge amount, but it's like you really got to hustle and bustle and get those crypto shekels and stuff. And I do have people who give me recurring payments every month through conventional means as a way of supporting the site. But it's so frustrating because it's like I get stable for a while. And I'm like, oh great, now I can start making money. I can start making ends meet. I can start getting ahead. And then as soon as I do that, the challenge comes up again. And it's like, okay, well now I'm not making any more money. And then pillars, like, because there was a time where I was making no money. Then I was making $1,000 a month. I'm like, wow, $1,000, I can finally pay rent.
Yay!
and then it was like $2,000 a month. And it's like, yay, now I have 1,000 and everything's paid for. And then it rises and it rises, and it drives you mad. It really drives you mad to tread water like that.
Yeah, it's I mean, just yeah. Yes, I don't know. There's nothing else to say with that one. Index 373. My friend opened a distillery in 2019. COVID crushed it, but he is still holding on somehow. Need a shout out. www.skepticdistillery.com. Curious spirits at the intersection of craft and science. Lamazone says, Jersh, my ISP here in the US loads kiwi farms perfectly fine. That's what you get with rural fiber, baby. Not mine. Mine doesn't.
Not yours. Let's see. When I go to Dallas is transiting. That motherfucker's in Texas, I guarantee you. And Vint Hill, Virginia. That's strange. See, don't get this into your head that it's like a political thing, like this country is blocking us. That's not what's happening. It's very incidental if your ISP happens to rely on this specific tier 1 provider for transit. It's completely a coincidence if that is the case or not. It just seems to be in the majority of the United States that many of them do, because I think their main thing is that they have a lot of submarine cables between the US and Europe.
Sure.
And our US backend is directly through them. So if they don't transit, nobody does. So you have to connect to Europe first to get a message through. And they're one of the main providers for that transatlantic transit. So, and it's very strange saying the word trans twice in a sentence without it being about the other kind of trans.
This transatlantic
no. The fiber optic cable shark says trans rights.
Crusaders, would you be willing to create a sponsorship list for donations over 100 a month?
Like these people are all our sponsors.
Yeah, power donators, power bottoms, I think you'd call them, right? Because they're on the bottom and they're pushing kiwi farms up, so you call them power bottoms, I think.
It would be nice to have a page like that. It's just like I technically I pitched to the people who were donating like $100 a month. Like I'll do like a special like investors club thing where I send out monthly like updates, but it's like drowning constantly. I don't have enough time to give people anything that they're paying for, and I feel really bad. And I meant to sell patches this week, and I can't do it because my fucking shit's completely wrecked, and I'm trying to rebuild it. And it's just like, ugh. And it's so frustrating. Like, here, I want to read a message from Don Gone. Ready?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, this is a real person. This is a real person who pretends to be a real person who is not an actual monster that needs to be put into an insane asylum. Ready? Yeah, we're going to have to keep playing whack-a-mole for a while, but yes, this battle is over for now, and we are becoming exceedingly efficient at it. That's like a real person. That's like a person that wants to be taken seriously and not beaten with sticks. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Imagine, like, I can't imagine. Imagine if I made a post like that. Yes, Bu is dead, and we're becoming exceedingly efficient at it. How the fuck would anybody put up with that? But for some reason, when they do it, it's okay.
It's crazy. Again, another thing, I hate saying I've talked about it, but it's become such a prominent issue over the past couple of years that you can't help, you can't avoid it. But it's like you keep going after people's businesses as if their business isn't an integral part of who they are. They're like, well, so-and-so was bullied at a whatever. It's like you're trying to put people on the street. You don't want them to ever work. I had the argument with that fucking loser, Duncan McLeod, or the debate with him. And I was like, you want me homeless in the street? And he's like, no, I don't. And I said, okay, you want me off YouTube, right? Well, yeah, I want you off YouTube. And he's like, so where do I work? He's like, aren't you a lawyer? And like, don't you want me disbarred? Well, yeah, I want you disbarred. Well, where am I supposed to work? Like, what do you want me to do? Because it doesn't matter where you go down the chain. It's like, well, can I work at McDonald's? Well, no, you're too hateful for that. It's like, okay. So at the end of the day, you want people out on the street. You want them done. And they, I don't know how they like rationalize that in their head, but I can't imagine trying to take away all of the means that anybody could ever produce anything. Because I guarantee you, if you stop today, you're like, you know what? I'm done with the kiwi farms. I don't want to do this anymore. It's too much work. I'm just going to go be a network engineer somewhere or something, right? They would hound you to death forever if they could ever find out, if they had any idea. And they'd be looking for it. They'd be looking for wherever you wound up, no matter what it was. Network engineer to barista. They'd keep you out of the sex doll brothel if they could.
Yeah, it's yeah, no, they want you dead. They want your kids raped and brainwashed, and they think it's funny. And if they try to say otherwise, like, no, we're just trying to like spread peace, man. Like, that's bullshit. If they could violently execute every single person that they didn't like right now, they would do it in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's crazy. And they wouldn't think twice about it. Keffels actually helped me out. I don't know if you know this, but when I was crafting my appeal to YouTube, I took one of Keffel's tweets. It was a picture of Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. And the text on it was...
how I sleep at night knowing that my enemies are ontologically evil and there's no wrong that I can do against them, which is morally unjustifiable. Something like that.
Yes. Yep, exactly. Exact text of the quote. Good work. And it was like, I couldn't even remember it. But yeah, is that thing. I included that in there in my appeal. And I was like, these people are willing to lie and do anything because they consider someone an enemy. They'll break all the terms of service. They will commit felonies, DDoSing, stuff like that. They will do it over and over and over. Anything to defeat their perceived demons. And so at least that was helpful for getting my account back. But it's the knowledge that they would do it sleeping easy is the crazy thing. One day though, they're going to run into someone who will sleep easy in the opposite direction. It's going to be that's going to be a really interesting day.
Yeah, when it comes time to shut the golem down, it's going to be interesting because they're literally useful idiots to like a massive international global financial apparatus that does not give a fuck about them and will put them down like stray dogs. The very second that they've accomplished what they're tolerated for. Like you think that like the billionaires who run shit, who own us are like, yeah, trans rights.
Yeah, no, they don't care at all.
They think you're fucking disgusting. They can't wait for you to finish the faux fourth wave feminism civil rights movement that requires censoring the internet so they can fucking put you down. Like they can't wait. They're just counting down the days. They got a calendar up and then checking every day like almost time. Sure is looking good. Almost time to put the golem down.
Yep. It's insane. Crusadus, I don't want anything other than my name on a list that says fuck off. We will not be silenced by eunuchs. So there you go. Okay, let me we're coming up to the end of the show here. So let me read some of these chats and then we'll wrap up. Plutonium Gaming says, thanks for having Null on. Always an interesting show with him. I agree. The official Trey Durant, excuse me. Josh, when I tried to log into my alleged farms account, it asked for an email verification. I lost access to that email last year. I missed my alleged Kiwi Farms browsing. Allegedly, how do I get past this?
You were warned. You were warned to use a alter ego email address you would have access to. So you can't get back in. It's invitation only right now. I don't know what mods have stuck around. So it's like once the site's stable again, I'm gonna check what mods are around. I'm gonna have to make sure that there's mods always on board, always ready to check things. I'm gonna have to figure out some way to deal with like Fed posting and stuff, and then I will reopen registrations for the first time in half a year, and I guarantee you it's going to be an utter shit show. It's going to be a fucking disaster.
Crusadus, how much would Jersh need in raw capital in order to run month to month? We already answered that one. Megan Fox, you will not believe how fucked up Cynthia Abcug's sentencing was today. Bring me on soon so I can show you footage of a judge attempting to sentence her illegally to more time than she was allowed. You will flip. Judge Patricia Heron is a twat. Ava Marlene, Null is awesome. You're okay as well. Can I get a belated happy birthday toast and congratulations on my new job offer? 14 months needed for to be able to apply for taking the lawyer exam. Thanks for being you. Yeah, let me grab a little whiskey real quick. I wasn't going to drink, but I guess I can do a toast. All right. To Ava Marlene, a big toast to you. Congratulations on the new job. And hopefully you have all of the luck in the world with your application for the lawyer exam. And go get it, girl. Nail it. Cheers.
Is the lawyer exam different from a bar exam?
I imagine they might not be in the U.S., but I don't know. Jerry 10 says that's because they know better.
Oh, shit. I was going to ask you real quick.
Yeah.
The sentencing of Cruz? Nicholas Cruz?
Nicholas Cruz, yeah. Yeah, the Parkland shooter?
Yeah, no, yeah, Parkland. Do you think he should have gotten the death penalty, or do you want to put him in the poo-poo pee-pee box?
No, I think he should get the death penalty.
I agree. And they're very.
Oh, go ahead.
People are always like, "Well, that's like too merciful. I want them to be like raped for 50 years." I was like, "Yeah, I don't really think that we should use rape as like punitive justice."
It's also, I think, an overstated prison fantasy that people have. That like,
yeah, it's really creepy and it's uniquely American. You don't like talk to people and like, whatever, like Serbia, like, well, he's going to jail. It's like, oh yes, he will be raped in prison for the next 5 years. Like, no, nobody's like that. It's only Americans are like, yeah, I hope he goes to prison. I hope they bend him over and buck break him on the reg. He's going to be sucking dick for Twinkies in the jail. It's like, what is wrong with Americans?
Yeah, and it happens, but I don't think it happens at the frequency people think it does. Like, this guy is not going to be I shouldn't say he's not, but he certainly could. But I don't think it happens at the rate that movies and stuff portray. But that being said, I'm generally opposed to the death penalty, not because I think it's an unjust power of the state, but because I just think the state is incompetent most of the time. But there are instances where it's not really a big question. Nicholas Cruz is one of those instances. Like, okay, he shoots up a school full of people. I put a bullet in him, and we'll call it a day. Like this person
Yeah.
is a pox on society. Same with Daryl Brooks up in Wisconsin. Like, you run over a parade full of people because of your racial hatred. I mean, I guess, well, just even ignore the last part. You run over a parade full of people. I'm okay with you going away for like, lights out. Peace. I'm done.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, the Nicholas Cruz thing though, that judge is maybe very improper.
Yeah, I listened to her, and she's like a young woman, and she's like very
Yeah.
like prissy, talking, hanging out, like, and for this murder, you will be sentenced to life without the possibility of parole with a minimum of 20 years. And it's like, I don't know. I get that this is like the good guy's wedding and shit, but there's like dead kids and shit.
Yeah,
Maybe
it was weird. Sam X Steele, my mother-in-law was just diagnosed with cancer. Would you please pray for her? She's my last remaining parent, as both my parents and my father-in-law have passed. Sam X Steele, I will, brother. Smith 13, you know the answer to the question. Delete all the trans boards on Kiwi Farms and apologize to the trans community.
Apologize. Get down there and apologize.
Smith 13, Josh, you are the equivalent of Chick-fil-A. Yes, any disagreement is violence.
Chick-fil-A. Oh man, dude,
I guess.
You know what sucks about being overseas is that there's no Chick-fil-A. No Chick-fil-A, no Whataburger, no Waffle House. I'm suffering.
Let's see. This not T. Hey, Null, you should check out Peergos. The architecture is decentralized and therefore harder to censor. It creates a network of data that everyone shares via IPFS. And then they've got a GitHub link. Do you want me to post it for you?
Yeah, send it to me in the private chat. The thing is, though,
Yeah.
it's like all these different services. You have LokiNet, you have this, you have something called Urbit, and you have Tor. And it's like the main thing is that a normal person with a regular browser cannot access these things. And it's like, I strongly believe that my website, which is US legal and has nothing that is, violently offensive or whatever, not calling to hate, calling to action, any kind of violence. It's like a person should be able to pop that URL into a bar and get what they want without having to jump through hoops for it.
I agree. Mazamars 312. Hi, Josh. How do we get an account with Kiwi Farms? I want to join. We covered that. Right now it's invite only.
If you send me to Josh or Null at kiwifarms.net and you tell me what thread you're interested in, I may shoot you an invite. No promises. It depends if I like you.
There you go. That seems very offensive. Blue-eyed. Well, because it seems very subjective and
it's very
censorious.
subjective. You have no freedom with the invite system.
Blue-eyed Roof Korean says, Nick, I have asked you before about making lists. Similar sites to Kiwi Farms started popping up. Sites like Amnesty Farms, Fed Farms, Board of Banks Farms, Corporation Farms. Would they take heat like Kiwi Farms? No, not at first. You're the demon.
Yeah, no, I literally feel like a horseman of the apocalypse, and I almost feel bad for people because I know if I like sign on to their service, they're gonna get like I can ruin someone's day very easily just by like name dropping them in this like there are right now 8,000 people watching right just on Rumble.
Yeah.
Among those are crazy, insane people who wake up every day thinking, "How do I fucking murder Joshua Connor Moon?" And that's their MO. And they live tweet about it. Like I'm sure there's someone who's live tweeting about the stuff I say, and like I can't believe he's getting away with this. I can't believe this shyster lawyer is allowing this on his platform. I can't believe Rumble. Do you hear what he's saying? Rumble, Odyssey, and it's like like I feel bad for people I associate with because those people will come after them like super hard. And people I've never met before know me. Like I'll say like hi, I'm so and so, and has the Kiwi Farms, and like nope, not touching that. Goodbye.
Yep. It's yeah, no, people definitely fantasize about killing you. I do once or twice a day, actually. So
that's normal.
So I know it's true. Blue-eyed Roof Korean, with all the amnesty talk, I fear way too many people will skate by. Kiwi Farms has inspired me. There should definitely be a Kiwi Farms type site for tracking every tyrant and their families, ESG companies, and boards.
Oh god, if you try to do what the forum does, but like people of importance, yeah, good luck with that.
Doug the dog. Hey Nick, good thunder. Minnesota mayor arrested for embezzlement of public funds and swindle. Will the trial be viewable online at Blue Earth County? I have no idea. I don't know. It's case by case, court by court. CD-ROM 1019. Hey, did you hear Streeter and Sellerman's Folly finally got their New York State alcohol permits? Bet those 2 bottles are aging pretty nicely right about now. Wink. Give them a congrats when you get a second. I will. I'll have them on soon too. Johan Liebert, how long before they cancel the wrong person and someone mag dumps a 45 into Duncan or Keffels? I don't want anybody to get mag dumped into at all unless the magazine is someone's balls. But legitimately, this is a real possibility that these people don't consider, that one of them will they will ruin the life of the wrong person. And that person will go fucking reacher on them.
Like, okay, if like I am a civilized, intelligent human being. I have no violent tendencies. I've never been diagnosed with any mental illness, of course.
You change that.
Look, okay. Let's say that the Kiwi Farms goes down, right? Now these people, they're bored, they're activists, they have to kill some time. What are they gonna do? They're gonna find some new set to deplatform. Fediverse, good option. You have lots of nodes on that, which are quite offensive.
Yep.
Like I'm sure there are people on the Fediverse who have little nodes of like 20 people, and that's like their life, you know, like they can't post on 4chan for whatever reason because they don't like it for whatever. I mean, they have this very small static thing of just a couple friends, and they're all anonymous and they're all weirdos and they like anime and they post on the Fediverse, and then they'll be like, well, this node is offensive, they're making 41% jokes over here, and they're hosted by Gandhi, and I know for a fact Gandhi doesn't tolerate that, so they send a complaint, Gandhi seizes the domain, they take down the server, and that's it, and it's gone. And you have this guy who's probably like on Neatbucks, he hosts this little tiny instance, and he just lost all his friends who are all anonymous, and he lost his domain too. That guy will fucking kill somebody. And they won't even think about that. They'll just think, oh, this is an easy target, and we're just cleaning up the streets of all the wrong thing. And it's like, those are the people who are going to be like radicalized into like violent action. You won't even suspect it. Like, this was a shitty site I didn't even think about. I just sent one email, and I'm ruthlessly efficient at it.
Well, that's what happened with Nassim, right? Or whatever that chick's name was. Her channel was garbage. She made like $1 a month.
She made dancing videos and stuff.
And she's like, it's my dollar. So YouTube does Adpocalypse. She goes in and shoots up the place. It's crazy. Dodo Bird. Kiwi Farms is best described as the retard paparazzi. They track the tards. Bew didn't kill himself. Says, been on chat with Comcast Xfinity guy for an hour, filing my report about the site being inaccessible. Godspeed, Josh.
Oh, that good.
Horrible.
Yeah, dealing with a lot of people are saying that they're contacting their eyes. That I think that has a great chance, because it's like, and that's not like annoying. It's like you have a right to complain to Comcast. It might take a while, but you have a right. And then Comcast were like, well, why are our customers complaining about not being able to reach this website? I can reach it from this node in Paris. Why can I not reach it from here? They do a trace route. They see that this ISP is responsible for it. And by the way, from what I understand, they're not just like refusing transit. They've done something where they have null routed us. So when so like when you ask for a route from your ISP, they respond saying there is no route. It's not possible. It's not up. And they just say, okay, well, there's no route that exists, which is different, because otherwise maybe it might have 2 ways across the Atlantic. And I say, well, you can take this one instead. So from what I understand, they've actually done something where it's more damaging than just dropping service. So that's also part of what's being discussed, and it's just a waiting game, waiting for fucking tickets to be resolved. It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, and there are things that are worse than actually being officially canceled. Because sometimes being canceled is good. It sounds weird, but being like shadow banned and blacklisted and prevented from access without being canceled, like, well, we're just not delivering this thing. It's like, well, that doesn't help me at all. How is that good?
Like right now, I'm very deplatforming resistant. This is crazy. I want to really stress, I don't think that this has ever happened before to a U.S. company that has no judgments against them, no warrants against them, completely above board, and a tier 1 ISP, a multi-billion-dollar company is just like, no, you don't get to access this. A multi-billion-dollar company that you have no relationship with, your ISP probably has no direct relationship with, and which I have no direct relationship with, has as an intermediary, like in the Jesus meme, isn't there someone you forgot to ask? And they're sitting to the side saying, I don't consent to this internet transaction. It's like, well, who fucking asked you?
It's cuck
do your fucking job.
It's cuckscent. That's it's so funny. All this shit that I've talked about in individual contexts, particularly the Vic Mignogna case, because that was where I coined the term cuckscent, where it's I agree, and then someone over there, well, I don't. Like, wait, what? And this is in regards to Mars Girl, where Vic was on an elevator with a woman. He had his arm around her or whatever. I have no idea what they're doing. I don't even know the time, but Mars Girl was in the elevator, and Vic and this woman are having a conversation. They're smiling, laughing. They get off the elevator and go down the hallway. Maybe they go to the same room. I don't know. But Mars Girl's whole story about the abuse she suffered was that she had to think about that poor woman. Whatever. It's like, wait, but she was consenting to the activity, whatever was going on. So it's like two adults consenting, but a third one off to the side going, well, I don't. And that's what's happening with the ISP. You've got your contract with the other party, and then some third parties like, yeah, I can't have this. Nope.
Yeah, it's nonsense. Like that especially should be the time where you're just like, no, like, why would I want to get involved in these two different ISPs affairs? Like I'm not involved.
Okay, last two chats. Jerry 10 wants me to show you this picture. Do you know the guy with the really soft eyes? Well, of course I know him. He's me.
Look, and he can't help it. He's looking at a white woman. He feels warmth in his heart.
He can't stop himself. Ava Marlene says, if you applied for a couple jobs because you need one of them to apply for the lawyer exam, one of them to call you, invite you, and you love it there, would you take the job or wait? How long would you wait if you have an offer for a job you would probably like, or the pay is the same? If you've got a job that you would like, how long would you wait if you have an offer? No, if you like the job, I'd take it. If you're looking for a job and you like the job, there's no hold up to me. Take it quickly, unless you're going to negotiate for more.
Is that it's like the same job, but it's better. Like it pays the same, but it's better in every other way.
Yeah, lateral moves are just fine.
Yeah,
but the only reason to hold out would be if you think you can squeeze more money out of them. But if you don't think you can, or you don't want to, you just want to make the move. Make the move. Don't wait. Yeah. So would you take the job or wait? I mean, I'd take the job, even if you're going to do the law school thing, or if you're talking about taking like the LSAT or whatever, maybe that's the lawyer test you're talking about. Take the job, because you can always quit the job, but you might determine that law school is going to be a giant waste of time and money for you, and you don't need it for the job. Take the job. Jobs are good. And maybe you'll find something bigger and better in the course of doing that. Okay, and then Supreme Meme says, I never want to hear a Reddit fag talk about net neutrality ever again.
We don't have net neutrality. Didn't they cancel that?
Yeah, it was like proposed by the FCC, and then it got undone by Trump, I think, right?
Yeah, Trump got rid of it. They're thinking about re-adding it in 2023. That's one of the Biden's things. Here, that's a great thing. Biden wants net neutrality back. Maybe the Republicans should reconsider their position on net neutrality. That I hate Trump. I'm sorry. He's funny and stuff. I'm glad that he was president, but he has really fucking ruined the public conception of the internet. Like his shit about Section 230 and net neutrality being bad for business is fucking retarded and has set back discourse on those topics. Because now it's like Google supported net neutrality. That must mean it's terrible. Google probably also doesn't support like a meteor smashing into the United States and killing everybody. Like sometimes Google is incidentally correct. Sometimes because it financially benefits them to have net neutrality, and that's why they support it. It also benefits you, incidentally. That's what you should be more concerned with. Does this benefit me?
My problem is, like, conceptually, I agree with net neutrality.
Yeah.
I really do worry about the implementation of it through government because they're fucking retarded.
We had it for years, though, is the thing.
Yeah, but I don't trust them to do it for years in the future, Josh. I don't trust them to get it right again. Like, we had soda for years and they can still fuck that up. We had the Civil Rights Act for years and they've now turned it into critical race theory. Like,
listen. What we have right now sucks. It doesn't work. You have nothing to lose but your chain. Workers of the internet unite. Okay, rise the fuck up. It's time to communize the internet. So
okay, digital marks.
So I can have my farm, and as a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow. No, says the man in San Francisco. It belongs to the marginalized people of gender.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, there were a lot of farmers in Ukraine. It was called the Holodomor.
Okay, listen. Stalin was literally genociding the Ukrainians because he wanted to race replace them with Russians. The USSR did this all over the place. That has nothing to do with net neutrality. And this wasn't like farm neutrality. Okay.
I'm just saying. Communism has a history. No, I agree with the concept. I wish we didn't have to have government to do it. We probably do have to have government to do it. I just don't trust government to do it. So here's one of the reasons I don't trust government to do it. You know what one of my favorite things to happen here in Minnesota is recently? The only funny thing that's come out of the legislature recently was they accidentally legalized THC gummies. Because the Republicans were too dumb to figure out that that's what was happening. Because there's this Industrial Hemp Act, which allows basically you to take industrial hemp, which has less than a 0.3% concentration of THC, and use it to make products, notably CBD oils and stuff like that.
But gummies are like food, so they're very not concentrated.
Well, no, so they passed this law that used the Industrial Hemp Act, and so they said you can make gummies, but only if you made it out of the industrial hemp. Well, a 0.3% concentration of THC doesn't matter if you have a sufficient supply of hemp, because once it comes out and you extract it, it's still THC.
Yeah, and you're using that for free anyway for fiber. So the THC is literally a byproduct. You can do whatever the fuck you want with. That's great.
Right. And they have the THC, and so then they make these gummies, and it's THC made out of industrial hemp, and it's the same 10 milligrams of THC that you would get from a regular cannabis plant.
I can't believe you're doing the weed though. Christian man, but then you watch the anime and now you're doing the weed.
I do it as a meme on. I have 2 left. That's it. It's not. I actually don't really like weed that much, but it was funny, so I bought it, and I do them on my local stream sometimes. But I don't like the brain fog at all. I would much rather do different drugs than weed. but no, so like the whole thing is they're too stupid to figure out how to do it. But Josh, it was really apparent to anybody who had any basic understanding of how THC works that if you take any amount of THC, no matter what the concentration is, and you go 10 milligrams, it doesn't matter if they got it from 0.001%. It's still 10 milligrams of THC. Anyone could have figured this out. Anybody at all. I don't trust them to get net neutrality right.
I mean, Section 230 was the same way. It was like a way to protect copyright holders at first, and then accidentally setting up a foundation for the internet for the next 20 years.
They got rid of all of the other parts of Section 230 or whatever, or like the sections around it. It's the only thing from that entire bill that survived. It's amazing. But I just think they'll fuck it up. So I worry about it.
I don't think that's an excuse anymore, though. At this point, I'm just thinking they literally can't fuck it up anymore. It's over. It's now time to do radical, crazy, stupid shit and see if it actually works. And if it doesn't work, you know what? We can do radical, crazy, stupid shit later and unfuck it.
That's what I'm saying. I'm coming around to your position in that I wish government wouldn't have to do it, because I wish it would just be like the way it was. But now it's like, well, government's going to have to do it, and we're just going to have to hope they don't fuck it up. This is my same position on Elon Musk buying Twitter. It can't get fucking worse than it is.
Yeah.
So it'll either die or it'll be better or it'll be the same. One of those three. And I'm okay with any of those three outcomes. But
my position is so radical now. I agree to amending Section 230. They just have to strike paragraph C 2A. Just strike it. All they got to do.
Which one is C2A?
That's the sword. Just take the sword away.
Yes.
And it's over. Freedom will reign.
Winston Fujimori, I know I got here late, but it sounds like the farms is back online. If true, then I can't access it. Is this my ISP? What ISPs are allowing you to get on the forum, or how do I get in? You got an Onion instance up, right?
Yes, there's the Onion instance. If you go to t.me/Kiwi Farms, the Onion URL should be in the description for the channel, and you can open that with Tor. There is a specific ISP. It's not your ISP. It's not your country. That's the problem. There's one ISP that provides transit for other ISPs. That is the problem. If you want to lodge a soft complaint with a trace route explaining what the issue is, they may issue a upstream complaint on your behalf. But don't be rude.
Yes, don't be rude. That's it. That's a critical thing in all of this. Winston Fujimori, by the way, Josh, Ghost Politics says hi and is wishing you the best. Almost everyone in his inner circle supports you.
Oh, Ghost sent me an email in early September that I just got around to answering. He also wanted to talk to me. I know he does like streams to a couple hundred people. So I owe Ghost because I remember I had fond memories as a teenager watching True Capitalist Radio Graffiti with friends, like in Gmod Theater, and throwing popcorn at the screen and stuff. It was some of our favorite content. So I owe him, 15 years later, a conversation, a promotion.
Okay, we're almost there. Royal Plague 45 Ghost subscription based. I mean, yeah, but the site can't be online. That's the problem. With that, Daramoth Nick, Friday stream tomorrow. Yes. Friday stream tomorrow, Thursday stream tonight. I'm not entirely sure what tonight's show will be, but we'll have something going on. Maybe we'll do the Nick Cruz sentencing stuff. I'm not sure. But yes, Friday stream tomorrow. And I'll be sending out some invites as soon as possible. Daramouth says, if you trust government to fix things, you haven't learned anything. COVID, anyone. Yeah, it's but I think it's not about trusting government. It's about saying that they can't make it worse than it is. So we'll
literally
see.
like censored internet and have like I'm already using Tor to access my fucking website. They could completely outright censor us and we'd still be on Tor. You know what I mean? It's like we're there. It's there. It's now time to try something new.
We need something, and if we need bank neutrality too. I mean that's a real thing that we need.
That's never happened. I don't even want to like waste time thinking about it because it's just never going to happen.
Yeah, it won't, because they could just. I was trying to tell Ty this one time. He's like, "Well, Congress could just go in and regulate the financial institutions." And I was like, "They'll just stop processing payments for Congress. Stop processing payments for the U.S. government."
The U.S. government has an extremely agreeable arrangement. Post 9/11, they issued the Patriot Act. Title III of the Patriot Act was about financial regulations, and put the burden on banks to find terrorist cells themselves and made them liable for terrorist money laundering. So it's on them to suss it out. And it's basically giving them carte blanche to do whatever they want in regards to deplatforming people financially. And this is great because in the system of due process, which we have, which is very strong, you can see someone like that idiot in the parade guy, Daryl Brooks. He has due process rights, and he gets to do whatever he wants with it, and everyone gets to see that. That's obviously not what people want in the government. They would prefer it if you just lost all your shit without any due process. So they essentially have allowed private institutions to do that for them, which is why they will never, ever change it, because this is exactly what they want.
Yep, 100%. And Supreme Meme says megacorps are just unaccountable governments. Yep, correct. And okay, guys, that's the show. Josh, thanks for hanging out with me today, man.
Anytime.
I really appreciate what you're doing, like unironically and ungaily, but it's you're going through some bullshit, and you're I don't think you probably ever woke up years ago and thought, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to be on the tide of internet censorship, right on the fucking breaking wave. I'm going to be one of the most important people out there.
I feel like it's almost over. I might. And someone's gonna clip this when I'm dead in a couple months, and they're gonna play it. But I feel like it's almost over, and it's like it's just one more thing. I just need one upstream to say fuck off and connect my shit to the internet, and then it's over. That's it. That's all I need. Or I need an Anycast network that's strong enough that we have 90% availability, regardless of what people want. And then I truly think that it will stay stable for a long time, because then 10-year anniversary is coming up in February. We will be an internet fixture. People will be like, Kiwi Farms, oh, people have tried to take that down before. What are you going to do?
Yep. Okay, Dharma says 94,000 subs. Let's hit that 100K here on Rumble. Yeah, we'll see if we can get to 100K very soon. But to everybody who is watching, we're closing out the show. On your way out, hit that, pound that plussy. Pound that plussy so hard. It's the little plus button below the video. It's like a thumbs up. It's a like. Pound
That's
it.
Inappropriate.
And let's do that. Remember that actually helps the show go up the rankings on the leaderboard. And let's show these Rumble people what we're after and how we're going to take over the site. All right, guys. Thanks a bunch. Josh, thanks again. We'll talk to you soon, man. Royal Plague 45 says become the upstream. Okay.
Soon.
We'll see. All right, guys. Have a good day. Peace.
Oh, he drinks a fair bit, but you realize that it just helps get his noggin jogging along. With his glass by his side and his kids asleep tight, we'll hear some lost-plaining tonight. With his microphone muted, we'll laugh at this boomer until he explains it's all part of the plan. Watch his face become redder as he becomes meta, raging at idiots from Twitterland. From the white shores of Maine to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed, to make the law what we have now. Oh, his lady is fair, and she handles herself with the grace of one who has borne many children. As the wife of a lawman, she makes sure that he has the time and the place to provide for them there. So pour out an Ardbeg, a bow, more of that rug. The spirits blow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the deposed on Twitter, as we hear lost-plaining tonight. From the white shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed, to make the law what we have now. Oh, the guests are all planet folks, from Doug T to Drexel. They bring their perspective and spice to the mix. But the reason we're here and the one that we cheer is the one who is showcasing us his career. Get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the deposed on Twitter, as we hear lost-plaining tonight. From the white shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed, to make the law